Chapter 209. The huge claw covered the sky and grabbed at Lin Feng. The monster was too huge. Lin Feng felt a dangerous aura. He quickly dodged in the air, thinking that he would be able to avoid the monster's attack. Who would have thought that the huge claw would ruthlessly slap Lin Feng? With a loud bang, Lin Feng was sent flying. Plop! Lin Feng fell on the ground and rolled a dozen times before stopping. He felt as if all the bones in his body had been broken. The monster's attack just now was too terrifying. At that moment, the monster crawled out of the crack. At that moment, Lin Feng finally saw what kind of monster it was. It was 1,000 meters tall, pitch black, swollen, and ugly. Earth demon. Surprisingly, it was such a monster. There were records of earth demons in the classic of mountains and seas. Earth demons were terrifying creatures born underground. They had the power to control the earth. This kind of demon was extremely terrifying. Looking at the mountain-like body of this earth fiend, one could tell how much power was contained in its body. Lin Feng crawled up from the ground and looked at the earth demon with a grave expression. Earth demon, help me kill that despicable human. The blood-red, robed beast tamer ordered. Great master beast tamer, please wait for a moment. I will soon bring you the head of this human boy. The earth demon roared and pounced at Lin Feng. It waved its huge claw and ruthlessly slapped at Lin Feng. Not long ago, Lin Feng had already felt how terrifying the earth demon's attack was. His whole body was in extreme pain. He naturally knew that the difference in strength between him and the earth demon was too great. They weren't on the same level at all. Therefore, Lin Feng flapped his golden wings and quickly dodged the attacks. The earth demon attacked a dozen times in a row, but Lin Feng successfully dodged them all. This earth demon is too strong. I have to find an opportunity and use the black dragon sword to deal with it. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes. Die, human! The earth devil roared and waved its giant claws, once again slapping towards Lin Feng. Whoosh! Lin Feng quickly dodged in the void. After dodging the earth fiend's attack, Lin Feng quickly rushed towards the earth fiend. He arrived at the earth fiend's side. Lin Feng pulled out the black dragon sword and directly stabbed towards the earth fiend's neck. Clang! It was as if this attack had pierced through an unbreakable armor. Numerous scales appeared on the earth fiend's neck, blocking Lin Feng's attack. This damned pervert! Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed, and he quickly dodged. But at this time, the earth demon's huge claws came again. With a loud bang, Lin Feng was sent flying by the earth fiend for the second time. Wow! Even with Lin Feng's abnormally strong body, he could not withstand this terrifying attack. He spat out a mouthful of blood, his face very pale. Roar! The earth fiend roared and charged towards Lin Feng again. Lin Feng hurriedly got up and quickly dodged the earth fiend's attack. Screech! At this time, the blood-robed beast tamer let out a sharp, ear-piercing cry again. He seemed to be summoning new beasts. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the distance, a ball of fire flew over. In the air, there was the sound of wings flapping. It turned out to be a dense swarm of bees lingering in the flames. Those bees were enormous in size. They were as big as a fist and had incomparably sharp thorns. These spikes could easily pierce through anyone's defense and then inject poison into the opponent's body. Inferno Killer Bee. When Lin Feng saw this flame giant bee, his expression suddenly changed. This type of Inferno Killer Bee was an extremely terrifying social creature. It was much more terrifying than the vampire bat Swarm Lin Feng had seen before. From their name, one could tell how powerful these Inferno Killer Bees were. Almost no one could escape from the Inferno Killer Bee's venomous claws. This blood-robed beast tamer was truly a monster. He could even summon a swarm of inferno killer bees. The dense swarm of inferno killer bees rushed towards Lin Feng. Purple earthgore fire. Lin Feng growled. He summoned heavenly fire and burned these terrifying inferno killer bees. When they saw the heavenly fire, the inferno killer bees quickly retreated, all of them trembling. Great Master of Heavenly Fire, please forgive our ignorance. Suddenly, a pleading voice sounded in Lin Feng's mind. A inferno killer bee king the size of a wash basin flew out, looking at Lin Feng with a pleading expression. These killer bees are afraid of heavenly fire? Right. Inferno killer bees are fierce beasts of the fire race, and heavenly fire is a sacred item in the eyes of countless fire creatures. Refining heavenly fire would put a great deal of pressure on these fire creatures. That's why these killer bees are afraid of me. Thinking of this, Lin Feng smiled. He hadn't expected the blood-robed beast tamer to shoot himself in the foot. The blood-robed beast tamer had wanted the inferno killer bees and the earth demon to work together to kill him, but he had miscalculated. The blood-robed beast tamer would never have guessed that Lin Feng's heavenly fire was the perfect counter to the inferno killer bees. Help me get rid of the earth demon, then you can leave. Lin Feng said, I am willing to serve you, great master. The inferno killer bee king humbly replied. Next, it emitted a strange cry, and the dense swarm of inferno killer bees all flew towards the earth demon. Roar! The earth demon's roars shook the sky, and it swung its huge claws at the inferno killer bees, attacking it. Damn it, what's going on? When the blood-robed beast tamer saw this, his face fell. He was about to communicate with the inferno killer bee king, but at that moment, Lin Feng had already rushed over. He raised his black dragon sword and slashed at the blood-robed beast tamer. Little boy, you're courting death. The blood-robed beast tamer's face fell. He waved his robe, and a black fog rolled out towards Lin Feng. Devour! Lin Feng immediately used his devouring spirit and devoured the black fog. He quickly arrived in front of the blood-robed beast tamer and fiercely slashed down with his sword. The blood-robed beast tamer's face fell. He had reacted extremely quickly, and when he saw that Lin Feng's sword was about to hit him, he quickly flew backwards and dodged Lin Feng's sword. However, his silver-eyed blood wolf king wasn't able to dodge so easily. The black dragon sword could cut through iron like it was mud. Blood splashed as the wolf king's head was cut off by Lin Feng's sword. Chapter 210. The silver-eyed wolf king was terrifyingly strong. It shouldn't have been so easy for Lin Feng to kill it. Lin Feng had the impression that the blood-red-robed beast tamer had cheated him. He was the blood-red-robed beast tamer's mount. He hadn't tried to block Lin Feng's attack. Instead, he had chosen to dodge. At that moment, Lin Feng changed his target from the beast tamer to the silver-eyed blood wolf king. It was too late for the silver-eyed blood wolf king to dodge. Therefore, the silver-eyed blood wolf king's death was a sad one. It was so strong, but Lin Feng had cut off its head. Brat, you killed my mount. I'll cut you to pieces, said the blood-red-robed beast tamer, looking at Lin Feng with hatred. The corners of his mouth twitched again. It seemed like he was going to summon more beasts. Lin Feng wasn't going to let the blood-red-robed beast tamer have his way. He rushed over and slashed his sword at the beast tamer. If the blood-red beast tamer kept summoning ferocious beasts, he would be able to kill Lin Feng in the end. Therefore, Lin Feng had to interrupt the beast tamer's summoning. The blood-red-robed beast tamer was furious when he saw Lin Feng's attack. He was about to summon his beast, but Lin Feng had interrupted him. The beast tamer had no choice but to dodge Lin Feng's attack. Whoosh! The beast tamer moved to the left and dodged Lin Feng's attack. However, His summoning was interrupted by Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked indifferent. He held the black dragon sword and attacked again. "Brat, I can kill you even without summoning more beasts," the crimson-robed beast tamer said with a gloomy expression. With a flash of light, a blood-red spear appeared in the beast tamer's hand. He was holding a blood-red spear and was moving towards Lin Feng. Clang! The two people's weapons collided violently. In a flash, Lin Feng could feel a terrifying strength flowing through his black dragon sword and violently shaking his body. Thump! 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 Lin Feng was pushed back by that attack. The power of two dragons. Lin Feng was shocked. Sure enough, this blood-robed beast tamer was much stronger than the Tiger-Man Centurion. "Brat, do you know how strong I am? Even though beast tamers aren't good at fighting, I can still deal with you." The beast tamer's confidence was boosted after Lin Feng was pushed back. He laughed evilly and charged at Lin Feng. He thrust his spear at Lin Feng. Lin Feng raised his sword to block the attack. Who would have thought that the beast tamer's first attack was only a feint? He quickly changed directions, raised his spear with both hands, and threw it at Lin Feng. It happened in the blink of an eye. He was as fast as lightning. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. He quickly raised his sword to block the attack. There was a loud clang. Lin Feng was sent flying. A powerful force surged into his body. Lin Feng felt as if his body was going to be torn apart. He coughed up blood. Lin Feng was injured. Devouring martial spirit. Lin Feng hurriedly activated his martial spirit and devoured the terrifying force that was surging into his body. "Die, brat!" The beast tamer in the blood-red robe raised his spear and threw it towards Lin Feng. Swish! Lin Feng unfurled his golden wings and flew into the air. He dodged the beast tamer's attack. The beast tamer raised his spear. He wanted to pierce Lin Feng's chest and kill Lin Feng in midair. Lin Feng swung his black dragon sword to block the beast tamer's attack. Devouring martial spirit, triple spatial magnetic field. Facing the powerful beast tamer, Lin Feng didn't hold back. He used all of his techniques. The beast tamer was too strong. In a short exchange, Lin Feng had already been injured. If he wanted to defeat the beast tamer, he had to use all of his strength. Triple spatial magnetic field. A powerful restrictive force enveloped the beast tamer. The beast tamer immediately felt that his movements were greatly restricted. He couldn't move an inch. The beast tamer's expression changed. He hadn't expected Lin Feng to have such a technique. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. He then grabbed his black dragon sword and quickly arrived in front of the beast tamer. He slashed at the beast tamer. The beast tamer dodged with difficulty. Even though he had dodged Lin Feng's deadly attack, he hadn't been able to completely dodge Lin Feng's sword. Pooh! A ripping sound was heard. The beast tamer's left arm had been chopped off. "Ah, my arm!" shouted the beast tamer, giving a horrible shriek. He raised his right hand and threw a punch at Lin Feng. Bang! A loud sound was heard. That palm landed squarely on Lin Feng's chest. Wah! Lin Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying like a kite, with its string cut. The beast tamer in the blood-red robe grabbed his broken arm and looked at Lin Feng with hatred in his eyes. However, the blood-robed beast tamer knew that he was in a very bad situation after losing an arm. He immediately turned and fled. Lin Feng crawled up from the ground. He picked up the black dragon sword, clenched his teeth, and endured the pain all over his body. He quickly chased after the beast tamer. This beast tamer had to die. Otherwise, he would become a huge threat. Soon, Lin Feng caught up and began to fight the beast tamer. Blood sound wave. Wah! While the beast tamer was fighting with Lin Feng, He suddenly opened his mouth and let out a terrifying roar. That was a sound attack. Because these beast men didn't have a spirit, they paid great attention to the cultivation of their soul and their physical bodies. In the empire of the beastmen, there were many soul attack techniques that only beastmen could use. That sound attack was obviously much more powerful than the Tiger Clan's 100-man commander's tiger roar. The terrifying sound attack penetrated into Lin Feng's brain and destroyed his soul. Soul sword, slash. Lin Feng also used a secret soul technique. His soul transformed into a sword and instantly destroyed the sound wave attack. Lin Feng's soul was at the peak of the martial king realm. The soul sword was much more powerful than the blood sound wave. Therefore, it wasn't difficult for Lin Feng to destroy the beast tamer's blood sound wave attack. Following that, the soul sword shot out and entered the blood-robed beast tamer's mind, aiming for his soul. Ah, my head! The beast tamer roared in pain. He threw his weapon on the ground and smashed his head with one hand. Die! Shouted Lin Feng loudly. He thrust his sword towards the beast tamer's chest. Puchi! The black dragon sword pierced through the beast tamer's chest. A great beast tamer is dying at the hands of a human brat. How can this be? Muttered the beast tamer. He couldn't believe his eyes. In the next moment, his body started to swell. Lin Feng's expression changed. The beast tamer was going to self-destruct. Before he died, he wanted to drag Lin Feng down with him. Lin Feng didn't dare hesitate. He quickly flew away. After flying a dozen meters, a loud explosion sounded. The beast tamer's body exploded. A terrifying energy wave hit Lin Feng and sent him flying dozens of meters away. Lin Feng fell heavily on the ground and didn't move. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Chapter 211. Phew. Lin Feng panted heavily. He felt very tired, as if he had no strength left in his body. Lin Feng was seriously injured from the fierce battle with the blood-robed beast tamer. This battle was extremely dangerous. Although Lin Feng killed the blood-robed beast tamer in the end, the process was extremely thrilling. It was either you die or I die. Fortunately, Lin Feng was the one who survived in the end. I can't stay here for long. I have to leave quickly and find a place to rest. Lin Feng got up with difficulty. He flapped his golden wings and turned into a golden lightning bolt, quickly flying into the distance. In the end, Lin Feng could not hold on any longer. He stopped in front of a lake and leaned against a tree to rest. Not long after, Lin Feng closed his eyes and fell asleep. He was really too tired. Splash! After an unknown amount of time, Lin Feng suddenly heard the sound of water flowing. He opened his eyes. Lin Feng saw a beautiful woman covered in blood cleaning the blood clots on her body not far away. This beautiful woman was tall and voluptuous. Her skin was snow white, and she had a slim waist and plump buttocks. Lin Feng could only see the side of her face, but it was also perfect. She must be an extremely beautiful woman. But obviously, this woman was not an ordinary person. She held a blood-stained short sword in her hand. It was unknown how many people she had killed, but the blood groove of the short sword was filled with blood. She placed the short sword into the water, and immediately the lake water around the short sword was dyed red. The beautiful woman carefully cleaned the short sword. It was obvious that she loved her treasure so much that she couldn't bear to part with it. After cleaning the dagger, the beautiful woman put it away. Then she began to clean the blood clots on her body. Perhaps it was because there was too much blood on her body. The beautiful woman frowned slightly. She took off her clothes one by one. Lin Feng was behind the beautiful woman. He watched this scene with his mouth agape. As the clothes fell, the beautiful woman's perfect body was revealed to Lin Feng. Her long and slender legs, her slim waist, and her perfect golden ratio would make any man's blood boil if they saw her. Soon, the beautiful woman was only left with her undergarments. Her jade-like hands reached for the belt of her undergarments, clearly wanting to undo them. What the F***CK, are you serious? Do I have to take them all off? Lin Feng felt that this was too exciting. This beautiful woman's figure was simply perfect to the extreme. Clearly, because her body was stained with too much blood, she wanted to take a good bath here, allowing Lin Feng to feast his eyes. Phew! As the beautiful woman moved, Lin Feng's breathing quickened. Who? Suddenly, the beautiful woman let out a cold voice. She seemed to have sensed a trace of movement in the surroundings. The beautiful woman quickly put on her clothes. She looked coldly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was startled. This beautiful woman's perception was very strong. Clearly, her strength was extremely tyrannical. Even Lin Feng's slightly hot breathing couldn't escape the beautiful woman's notice. When the beautiful woman looked behind him, Lin Feng had no time to dodge. Their eyes met. Lin Feng was stunned. This woman was truly too beautiful. She had a palm-sized oval-shaped face, willowy eyebrows, charming eyes, and soft pink lips. Perhaps these words were used to describe the beautiful woman's alluring red lips. Her face was so exquisite that it was breathtaking. When she saw Lin Feng, the beautiful woman suddenly revealed a charming smile. "Do I look good?" Lin Feng replied, "Yes, I do, but it's a pity that I can't take it all off." The beautiful woman walked step by step towards Lin Feng and smiled. "Do you want me to take it all off for you to admire?" Lin Feng's fiery gaze landed on the beautiful woman's perfect body. "If you don't mind, I'll naturally be happy to take a look at your mesmerizing figure." "Hee hee hee. All right then, I'll take it off for you to see." The beautiful woman giggled and reached out as if she was about to undo her clothes. Lin Feng muttered, could it be that this woman was really going to take it all off for him to admire? In any case, Lin Feng wouldn't reject such a good thing. Just as Lin Feng was about to admire her alluring body, the beautiful woman suddenly sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. Whoosh! Lin Feng seemed to have been prepared for this, and quickly retreated. "I'm just joking. There's no need to be so fierce, right?" Lin Feng called out. In truth, Lin Feng had been on guard against the beautiful woman this entire time. The beautiful woman's body was covered in blood. Her weapon's blood reservoir was filled with blood. Although she was beautiful, she didn't seem like a kind person. "Brat, do you think you can leave alive after seeing my body?" the beautiful woman said coldly. As soon as she finished speaking, she rushed over again. "You're exposed." Lin Feng pointed at the beautiful woman. Originally, when the beautiful woman had discovered Lin Feng, her clothes had been draped over her body, and she hadn't put them on. Now that she had attacked, her clothes had been ripped open, revealing her body. Through her undergarments, Lin Feng could even see a scene that made him blush. It was as if her undergarments were about to burst apart. "He's just a dead person. Let him see." The beautiful woman didn't seem to care at all. Boom! The beautiful woman attacked again, and the power of her palm was too great. Lin Feng felt a suffocating pressure. This beautiful woman was at least at the third firmament of the martial general realm. Whoosh! Without thinking, Lin Feng unfurled his golden wings and turned to flee. Even if Lin Feng was at his peak, he wouldn't necessarily be a match for this beautiful woman. Moreover, Lin Feng had just fought a fierce battle with the blood-robed Beastmaster not too long ago. He was still injured and was in a weak state. It wasn't wise to fight with this beautiful woman. Lin Feng quickly flew away. The beautiful woman was shocked. A flying secret technique, a flying type secret technique as well? Her eyes lit up. Clearly, she was very interested in Lin Feng's flying secret technique. Swoosh! The beautiful woman took out a palm-sized square-shaped jade seal. It flew out at high speed, instantly growing to 100 meters tall. It looked like a mountain, and it was clearly a powerful magical item. The mountain-shaped jade seal smashed towards Lin Feng. Not good. Lin Feng's face fell, but he didn't have time to dodge. Bang! A huge sound rang out. Lin Feng was struck by the jade seal, and his body fell to the ground. His true energy scattered, and he couldn't use even the slightest bit of strength. The beautiful woman quickly flew over. When she saw Lin Feng's pale face, she was clearly shocked. You took a blow from my magical item and didn't die? Kid, you really aren't simple. Lin Feng said, Beautiful woman, can you be reasonable? I was resting here until you came over. I just happened to glance at you a few times. And you want to kill me? The beautiful woman sneered. He, you're really naive. Trying to reason with people from my soul-devouring hall is the most laughable thing in the world. People from my soul-devouring hall can kill whoever they want. Killing someone depends entirely on their mood. Soul-devouring hall. Lin Feng's face fell. This beautiful woman was actually from the soul-devouring hall. The soul-devouring hall's members were all devils who killed without batting an eyelid. Now that he had fallen into the hands of this beautiful woman, he was in trouble. If you want to die quickly, tell me your flying secret technique. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead. The beautiful woman looked coldly at Lin Feng. Chapter 212. Lin Feng obviously wouldn't cooperate. If he did, he would die for sure. Instead, he might be able to find a way to escape. Beauty, we have no enmity between us. It was all a misunderstanding. Although I looked at you a few times, you were still wearing your undergarments. Actually, I didn't see anything. Seeing that I'm young and ignorant, please let me go. You're such a beautiful fairy. You're definitely different from those devils. You must be a kind-hearted person. Lin Feng looked at her pitifully. Ha ha ha. This is the first time I've heard someone say that I, Lan Xiaoji, am a kind-hearted person. If it were any other woman, they would have let you go after hearing your flowery words. However, it's useless to say that to me. I've killed at least 8,000 people. Do you think I'm afraid of one more? Lin Feng felt his scalp go numb. This woman was really vicious. She was so beautiful. She was so cruel and merciless. She killed indiscriminately. No wonder all the factions wanted to annihilate the Soul Devourer Palace. These demonic Tao forces were too vicious. They killed people without batting an eye. If these demonic Tao forces were allowed to grow stronger, who knew how many innocent people would be killed and how many innocent people would be killed? My patience is limited. If you don't tell me, I'll make you kneel on the ground and beg me. You believe me? Lan Yao looked at Lin Feng coldly. He, kill me if you dare. I won't tell you anyway. Even if I have to take the secret to my grave, I won't tell you. Lin Feng said shamelessly, That's because you don't know what I'm capable of. Since you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, you'll suffer, sneered the woman. She tidied her clothes, picked up Lin Feng, and walked away. Over 100 people were resting next to a pool. 50 or 60 of them were wearing black robes. Their auras were gloomy. They were all from the Soul Devourer Palace. There were also 40 or so people chained up. They were covered in blood. It seemed like they had just gone through a great battle. Those people were the cultivators who had been captured by the Soul Devourer Palace. A skinny old man, wearing a black robe, was standing in front of a bonfire. Above the bonfire was a jar. Within the jar, chopstick-sized little golden snakes were swimming within the boiling hot soup. There were dozens of poisonous grasses, flowers, and medicines in the jar. Those little golden snakes were currently absorbing the poison within. Hee 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 hee, my little babies, you can't wait to enjoy the delicious food? Wait a little longer. Once you've absorbed all the poison, you can enjoy the delicious food. The skinny old man said eerily. The cultivators from the Soul Devourer Palace felt their hairs stand to stand. The old man was a poison master. Just like spiritual array masters and alchemists, poison masters were also a profession. However, poison masters were very rare because they usually dealt with poisons. Many talented people were poisoned to death before they could become poison masters. Even in the Soul Devourer Palace, there were only 3 poison masters. Also, poison masters were too evil. Once they were discovered, the major factions would surround them. The black-robed poison master had come out this time to cultivate the 36 blue-eyed gold snakes. The blue-eyed gold snake was a snake species that contained a highly toxic poison. Its speed was extremely fast, and this type of snake was capable of metamorphosis. Once it metamorphosed, it could become a flying blue-eyed gold snake. The flying blue-eyed gold snakes would grow wings and move as fast as lightning. When facing an enemy, the flying blue-eyed gold snake would fly over before the enemy could even react. Once bitten by the flying blue-eyed gold snake, it was said that even a yin-yang realm expert would be poisoned to death. From this, one could see how terrifyingly poisonous the flying blue-eyed gold snake was. Of course, it wasn't easy to transform the blue-eyed gold snake into a flying blue-eyed gold snake. Not only did it need to be fed a large amount of poison, it also needed to drink a large amount of blood from cultivators. The stronger the cultivator, the better. The blood of powerful cultivators would help the blue-eyed gold snake complete its transformation quickly. These cultivators were all innocent cultivators who were targeted by the people from Soul Devourer Palace. Some of them fled, some were killed in their resistance, and some were captured. Those who were captured would become the black-robed poison master's poison body. The poison body was a host used to cultivate poison. It was the host used to cultivate the blue-eyed gold snake. Rustle, a small sound came from the forest. The Soul Devourer Palace experts' expressions changed slightly. They all became alert. Soon, Lan Yaoji walked out of the forest with Lin Feng. It's Elder Lan. The Soul Devourer Palace cultivators let out a long breath. In reality, they were also on tenterhooks outside. What the black-robed poison master had done was simply too heinous. If the righteous Dao cultivators found out, a large group of righteous Dao cultivators would come to kill them. Elder Blue, you've caught another young man. I'm so happy. Elder Blue, you're much stronger than the elders who came with me before. Wait until I turn these blue-eyed golden snakes into flying blue-eyed golden snakes. Then I'll sell one to you for a cheap price, said Elder Blue. The black-robed poison master laughed sinisterly. Lan Yaoji curled her lips and said, I heard that your flying blue-eyed gold snake is selling for 1,000 high-grade spirit stones. I can't afford it. If it's 100 high-grade spirit stones, I might buy one. Elder Lan, if you don't have enough high-grade spirit stones, maybe you can consider spending a night with me. I'll give you one. How about it? The black-robed poison master looked at Lan Yaoji's sexy body and said with a perverted smile. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. This old guy was already so old, but he was still an old pervert. Ha 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 ha. My nickname, Poison Widow, is not for nothing. Could it be that Lord Poison Master wants to test my prowess as well? Said Lan Yaoji with a charming smile. The Poison Master seemed to have thought of something related to Lan Yaoji, and he smiled embarrassedly. A hint of fear flashed in his sinister eyes. Lan Yaoji threw Lin Feng on the ground and looked at the black-robed poison master. She said, Have your snakes finished absorbing the poison? Almost, said the black-robed poison master. Feed one to this brat first. Lan Yaoji pointed at Lin Feng. Shit, that bitch is so cruel. Lin Feng couldn't help but curse Lan Yaoji in his heart. A woman's heart was the most poisonous. Elder Lan, how could I dare disobey your orders? Said the poison master while smiling evilly. He stretched out his right hand and said something to the snake in the jar in a language that Lin Feng didn't understand. It seemed to be the snake language. It was the language of snakes according to legends. In a flash, a snake came out of the jar and coiled around the black-robed poison master's wrist. The black-robed poison master walked in front of Lin Feng and used a dagger to cut open Lin Feng's wrist. He said sinisterly, "Brat, you're really lucky. You're the first person my little baby has drunk your blood." After that, the snake coiled around the black-robed poison master's wrist seemed to smell blood. It looked at Lin Feng and quickly threw itself at him. It penetrated the wound on Lin Feng's wrist and drilled into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng immediately felt an excruciating pain. He rolled on the ground and started twitching. Chapter 213. My blue-eyed golden snake won't take your life immediately. It'll torture you slowly until you wish you were dead, said the black-cloaked poison master gloomily. Little brat, if you can't take it anymore, come and find me. Kneel down and beg me, and you'll get a quick death, said Lan Yaoji coldly. Ha ha, stinky bitch. I'm very happy, said Lin Feng with a cold smile as he endured the pain. You're still so stubborn. Enjoy it slowly. Let's see how long you can last, said Lan Yaoji coldly. The black-cloaked poison master walked towards the rest of the people. It seemed like those people already knew what was going to happen to them. A moment before, they had seen Lin Feng being poisoned by a poisonous snake and his entire body twitching. When they saw the poison master in the black cloak walking towards them, their faces all turned deathly pale. Do you know who I am? My ancestor is a deacon of Sun Moon City. If you don't let me go, you'll all die when my ancestor finds out. A young master shouted with a stern voice. He, how impressive. You're just a deacon of Sun Moon City. You think you can scare me? How laughable. I'll start with you today, said the black-cloaked poison master gloomily. He walked towards the young man and cut open his arm. No, don't, screamed the young man in terror. However, it was useless. Nothing could stop the black-robed poison master. After a blue-eyed gold snake smelled the scent of blood, it quickly rushed out and drilled into the young master's body through his wound. The young cultivator's body violently twitched and rolled on the ground in pain. When the rest of the people saw this, their faces turned pale. You'll get your retribution. Someone cursed. He. What's retribution? I don't know, said the black-cloaked poison master with a sinister smile. Then he made the snakes crawl into the bodies of the cultivators. All of the cultivators had become nourishment for the blue-eyed gold snake. Nurturing the blue-eyed gold snake was a very vicious process. It had an extremely high requirement for blood. It could not use the blood of wild beasts. It had to use the blood of cultivators. Moreover, it could not use the blood of the dead. It had to use the blood of the living. The more pain and resentment they felt before death, the more bloodthirsty the blood would contain. By absorbing such blood, the blue-eyed gold snake would be able to grow quickly. Of course, the blue-eyed golden snake didn't eat the cultivator's blood all the time. It would rest and digest the blood. When the snakes ate the cultivator's blood, it was a painful process. When the snakes rested, they felt better. These demonic Tao members of the Soul Devourer Temple escorted so many people towards an ancient primitive forest. 3 days had been gone. More than a dozen cultivators had already died. All of their blood had been sucked dry by the blue-eyed gold coin snake. The cultivators who didn't die were all skin and bones. They didn't look good at all. Little boy, how do you feel now? When night fell, Lan Yao came to Lin Feng's side and smiled coldly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's body was very thin, and his eyes were lifeless. He was very weak. However, he didn't want to give in. He smiled coldly and replied, "I've never felt so good before. It feels so good." "You won't be able to say that very soon." Lan Yao smiled charmingly. She looked like a peerless beauty, but she wasn't like that. Her heart was as vicious as a scorpion's. At night, apart from the soul-devouring palaces, people who were patrolling, everyone else was resting. Lin Feng leaned against a tree and sat cross-legged. Suddenly, a sharp pain spread through his body. The blue-eyed golden snake had started to wreak havoc in Lin Feng's body again. "I'll refine you today." Lin Feng's face was filled with anger. For the past few days, he had been fighting against the blue-eyed golden snake. Lin Feng had wanted to refine the snake many times, but the soul-devouring palaces people had been watching him closely. However, the soul-devouring palaces cultivators were much more relaxed today. They had been watching him closely because they were worried that some of the medicine slaves would escape. However, the blue-eyed golden snake had been absorbing the blood of the medicine slaves for a few days, and more than half of the medicine slaves had died. The rest of the medicine slaves were on the verge of death. It seemed like they wouldn't be able to last much longer. It would be even more difficult for them to escape. Therefore, the soul-devouring palaces people had let down their guard. Heavenly fire as the source, refine the snake as the essence. All things become one, heaven and earth become one. Lin Feng began to circulate the heavenly fire in his body. The heavenly fire swept towards the blue-eyed golden snake in Lin Feng's body. The blue-eyed golden snake was initially drinking Lin Feng's blood, but when it suddenly sensed the scorching hot qi, it started panicking. The blue-eyed golden snake was a vicious beast of the yin element. It was afraid of fire, let alone heavenly fire. Screech! The blue-eyed golden snake let out a sharp cry and frantically drilled into Lin Feng's body, trying to escape. "It's too late to escape now." Lin Feng sneered. The purple earth core fire had already wrapped around the snake. Chi, 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 chi. The purple earth core fire burned fiercely. The blue-eyed gold snake struggled painfully, trying to break free from the purple core fire's attack. However, it failed. Under the burning of the purple core fire, the blue-eyed gold snake gradually lost its ability to move. In the end, the snake stopped moving. Huff, huff, huff. The purple earth core fire burned wildly. The blue-eyed golden snake directly turned into a ball of pure energy. The blue-eyed golden snake had been cultivated by the black-robed poison master using countless medicinal herbs. Its entire body was made of essence. Lin Feng immediately activated the devouring black hole and began to absorb the pure energy of the blue-eyed golden snake. The powerful energy poured into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng's body, which had been thin and emaciated, quickly became plump and full of energy. He also became full of vigor and vitality. Boom! Suddenly, Lin Feng's strength began to increase crazily. Lin Feng was originally at the 9th celestial layer of the martial master realm and had a strength of 400 million jin. However, at this moment, Lin Feng's strength quickly broke through 500 million jin and was still increasing crazily. In the end, Lin Feng's strength stopped at 400 million jin. His cultivation had also finally broken through to the 10th celestial layer of the martial master realm. This blue-eyed golden snake is really a great tonic. After refining this blue-eyed golden snake, I actually broke through to the 10th celestial layer of the martial master realm. This is really great. My strength has reached 800 million gene. With the superposition of the triple devouring martial spirit, my strength can increase to 240 million gene. Now, I can even fight against a martial general. Lin Feng's face lit up with joy. Chapter 214. Not only had Lin Feng devoured the blue-eyed golden snake, but his strength had also greatly increased. However, he still pretended to be sick to confuse the soul-devouring palace. The soul-devouring palace had many people, so it wasn't easy for them to escape. They had to find a good opportunity to escape. If they failed, they would die without a doubt. The other cultivators died one after another. Apart from Lin Feng, there were 3 other cultivators who hadn't died, but they didn't seem to be able to hold on for much longer. Most of the medicinal slaves are dead. It seems like we need to catch some new ones. The black-robed poison master glanced at Lin Feng and the others, then looked at Lan Yaoji. Lan Yaoji said, "So many cultivators have just disappeared. I'm afraid that some powerful groups have already noticed us. We need to go somewhere else." The black-robed poison master nodded. He had always been cautious and thought that it would be safer to go somewhere else. The black-robed poison master continued, "There's a ferocious beast in the depths of the forest. It's guarding a 3,000-year-old violet sun herb. Before we leave, we need to go and steal that violet sun herb." Lan Yaoji frowned and said, "That's not my responsibility. If you want to go, go by yourself." Of course, there are many people who are willing to risk their lives for me. You just have to wait outside. The black-robed poison master said indifferently. Lan Yaoji curled her lips and said, "Do you think a ferocious beast guarding a 3,000-year-old medicinal herb is easy to deal with? Master Poison Master, you should be careful. Don't suffer a double loss." The black-robed poison master said gloomily, "I've already prepared everything. Elder Lan, you don't have to worry about that." Lan Yaoji narrowed her eyes and didn't say anything else. Lin Feng had already fully recovered. He was alert and alert. He heard the conversation between the black-robed poison master and Lan Yaoji. Lin Feng was shocked. A 3,000-year-old medicinal herb. Such a medicinal herb was extremely rare. If it appeared in the world, it would cause a huge commotion. The next day, 2 more cultivators died. Only Lin Feng and the last cultivator remained. The black-robed poison master gloomily looked at Lin Feng and said, "The kid you caught is not simple. He can actually persist for such a long time. This kid is the best candidate for a medicine slave. How about you sell this kid to me? You can name your price." Lan Yaoji said calmly, "I'm afraid that I'll have to disappoint you. It's a pity to die like this." The black-robed poison master shook his head, but didn't say anything else. That evening, the other cultivator also died. Lin Feng was the only one left. Most of the troops were stationed beside a river. The members of Soul Devourer Palace began setting up camp. Lin Feng stood up, and an expert from Soul Devourer Palace shouted coldly, "Kid, what are you trying to do?" Lin Feng replied, "I'm thirsty and want to go drink some water." "Drink water? I haven't even drunk any water yet, and you want to drink it? Just stay here." The cultivator from Soul Devourer Palace said coldly, "Zhang Ming, take him with you. Don't let him die." Hearing Lan Yaoji's order, the cultivator from Soul Devourer Palace didn't dare to disobey, and said, "Yes, Elder." He then looked at Lin Feng and said coldly, "Kid, hurry up." Lin Feng nodded and walked towards the river. "Pah," said the cultivator of the soul-absorbing temple, attacking Lin Feng with his whip. "Damn it, I told you to hurry up. How dare you dawdle? Do you have a death wish?" The cultivator from Soul Devourer Palace called Zhang Ming cursed coldly. His attitude was extremely bad. Lin Feng's gaze suddenly turned cold. He clenched his fists, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. However, he restrained himself in time. At this moment, he was still surrounded by Soul Devourer Palace. Once he was far away from these people, he would take Zhang Ming's life. Lin Feng took a deep breath and sped up. Soon, under Zhang Ming's watch, Lin Feng arrived at the river. Lin Feng lowered his head and observed his surroundings. He noticed that within 30 meters of him, there were 2 cultivators from the Devouring Soul Temple. 50 meters away, there were 7 cultivators from the Devouring Soul Temple. Most of them were 100 meters away. Such a distance was enough for Lin Feng to successfully shake off these people from Soul Devourer Palace. "Kid, what are you looking at? Don't you want to drink water? Drink it for me." When Zhang Ming saw Lin Feng looking around, he lowered his body and grabbed Lin Feng's neck with his right hand as if he wanted to push Lin Feng's head into the water. However, at this moment, Lin Feng moved. His previous weakness and fatigue were swept away. He moved as fast as lightning and grabbed Zhang Ming's neck. He exerted force in his wrist. Crack! Lin Feng broke Zhang Ming's neck. "Kid, you're courting death." When the 2 cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace saw Lin Feng kill Zhang Ming in an instant, they immediately roared and rushed towards Lin Feng. "You should die too," Lin Feng shouted, and threw 2 punches at the 2 cultivators. Asterisk bang bang. Asterisk, he fiercely punched the 2 cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace. Crack, crack. The arms of the 2 Soul Devourer Hall cultivators were instantly broken. Next, the punch landed on their chests, causing their chests to cave in. Their whole body flew out like a kite with a broken string. In midair, they spat out mouthfuls of blood and fell to the ground, dead. "Not good, that kid is running away." Many people cried out in alarm. The cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace quickly rushed over. However, Lin Feng had already activated his golden wings and soared into the sky, flying far away. "Ah, damn it, damn it! My green-eyed golden snake, kill him! You must kill that kid!" Seeing Lin Feng soar into the sky, the black-robed poison master roared like a madman. Cultivating a green-eyed golden snake required a lot of medicinal ingredients. The black-robed poison master's heart ached. "Where do you think you're going?" shouted Lan Jiaoji coldly. Lan Jiaoji took out the square jade seal that had injured Lin Feng before. It was a powerful instrument. Lan Jiaoji wanted to use it to deal with Lin Feng like the first time. However, the current Lin Feng was different from the previous Lin Feng. Previously, he had been injured because of the battle with the blood-robed beast tamer. Now, he was full of energy, and his cultivation had greatly improved. When the square jade seal flew towards him, Lin Feng took out the black dragon sword and slashed at the square jade seal. Clang, clang, clang. 3 attacks in a row. Each attack seemed to have a terrifying power that could shake heaven and earth. After 3 attacks, crack, crack, the powerful square jade seal started to crack. Lin Feng slashed down with his sword again. Bang! The square jade seal broke into pieces. Lin Feng had destroyed it on the spot. "Ah, my treasure!" Lan Jiaoji had 4 or 5 powerful instruments, but when she saw that Lin Feng had destroyed the square jade seal, she screamed in pain. That was her favorite instrument, but Lin Feng had destroyed it. Swish! Lin Feng flapped his golden wings and soared into the sky, disappearing into the night sky. Chapter 215. Chase him. Don't let him get away. The black-cloaked poison master roared furiously. He was still worried about his blue-eyed golden snake. The blue-eyed golden snake was the black-cloaked poison master's lifeblood. Lan Jiaoji was also gnashing her teeth in hatred towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng had destroyed one of her favorite magical weapons. She wanted to cut Lin Feng into pieces to vent her anger. She said coldly, "Let's go. Chase him." The Soul Devourer Palace's experts, who were following Lan Jiaoji, quickly chased after Lin Feng. The remaining 10 Soul Devourer Palace's cultivators followed the black-cloaked poison master. They were going to follow the black-cloaked poison master to the depths of the ancient forest to snatch the 3,000-year-old spiritual herbs. Asterisk swish. Asterisk in the night. A golden light landed on a mountain peak. It was Lin Feng. Lin Feng had benefited from this disaster. He had refined the blue-eyed golden snake and reached the 10th celestial layer of the martial master realm. The fire Qilin isn't here. If it was here, it would definitely be interested in the blue-eyed golden snake. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. The fire Qilin hadn't come with him this time. Lin Feng continued. The black-cloaked poison master seems to have cultivated 36 blue-eyed golden snakes. Now that I've devoured one, there should be 35 left. These snakes are really great nourishment. I have to follow them and see if I have a chance to kill the black-cloaked poison master and steal these snakes. If I can get them, I'll be able to break through in the near future. If Lin Feng broke through again, he would be a general. Asterisk swish. Asterisk Lin Feng soared into the sky again and chased after the black-cloaked poison master. Lan Jiaoji and the others would never have thought that Lin Feng would turn back again. Damn it! Damn it! My blue-eyed golden snake. Brat, when I catch you, I'll make you wish you were dead. In the forest, the black-cloaked poison master was still roaring furiously. It was obvious that his anger hadn't subsided. Hiding in the shadows, Lin Feng stared coldly at the black-robed poison master. After a long time, the black-robed poison master seemed to have calmed down a little. He looked at a cultivator from the soul-devouring palace and said, "Wait here for Elder Lan to come back. When she comes back, tell her to wait here for me. If you catch that brat, tell Elder Lan not to kill him. Wait for me to come back and deal with him." "Yes," the Soul Devourer Hall cultivator replied. The black-robed poison master nodded and waved his hand. "Let's continue." The others followed behind the black-robed poison master, heading into the depths of the ancient forest. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He had heard the conversation between the black-robed poison master and Lan Jiaoji, and he knew that the black-robed poison master had entered the depths of the ancient forest to steal the 3,000-year-old spiritual herb that was guarded by the mysterious beast. Lin Feng tailed him all the way. The third day, the group of people arrived at the depths of the ancient forest. Someone pointed to the side of a lake and exclaimed, "What a huge python skin!" It was the skin of a huge python that was over 100 meters long. It was obvious that a giant python had finished shedding its skin here. Lin Feng, who was hiding in the shadows, couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This python skin was too big, wasn't it? Normally, pythons that grew to more than 20 meters were considered giant pythons. This python was actually more than 100 meters long. This was definitely a python that had turned into a demon, and it was abnormally powerful. "Liang, I will lure this python out and fight it. You will sneak into the python's cave and retrieve the spiritual herb." The black-robed poison master said to a cultivator. "Yes, master." The cultivator called Liang said, "You are all accurate. Once you enter the valley and lure the python out, you will be done. When we return to the soul-devouring palace, everyone will be rewarded with a high-grade spirit stone." The black-robed poison master said. The eyes of the other cultivators suddenly lit up. A high-grade spirit stone was definitely a treasure that could allow one's cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds. As the saying goes, humans die in pursuit of wealth, and birds die in pursuit of food. Hearing the black-robed poison master's words, More than a dozen cultivators said in unison, "Elder, don't worry. We will definitely not disappoint." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Then more than a dozen cultivators of the soul-devouring palace entered the valley. Rumble, not long after, the ground shook violently. It was as if a terrifying beast had been completely enraged, and a terrifying aura was emitted from the depths of the valley. Run, more than a dozen cultivators ran out in panic. Behind them, a huge python quickly chased out. That python was actually 500 meters long and had 9 heads. Heavens, that's a 9-headed demonic python. A 9-headed demonic python that has completed its transformation. Lin Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. There was a record of the 9-headed demonic python in the classic of mountains and seas. The 9-headed demonic python was a mutated species with the bloodline of an ancient beast. Every time it transformed, the 9-headed demonic python's body would rapidly expand. Of course, its strength would also be greatly improved. The 9-headed demonic python in front of them was 500 meters long, and its strength was at least equivalent to a human cultivator at the 6th or 7th heavenly layer of the martial general realm. Obviously, the more than 100 meters long python skin Lin Feng saw earlier was definitely not shed recently. Perhaps it had been shed a long time ago. If it had shed recently, the 9-headed demonic python's body would not be so huge. The cultivators of the soul-devouring palace clearly did not expect the 9-headed demonic python to be so powerful. If they had known, they probably would not have acted rashly even if the reward was generous, because it was too dangerous, and they could lose their lives at any time. The terrifying 9-headed demonic python began to show its might. The 9 heads respectively spat out lightning, thunder, hail, fire, and other different attacks towards the cultivators of the soul-devouring palace. The cultivators of the soul-devouring palace could not dodge in time, and 6 or 7 cultivators were killed immediately. "Elder, save us!" The remaining cultivators of the soul-devouring palace loudly begged, hoping that the black-robed poison master could help. "Good disciple, sneak over there." The black-robed poison master glanced at Li Yang and said gloomily, "Disciple is ready," Li Yang said. The black-robed poison master nodded. The black-robed poison master nodded. His robe fluttered as he soared into the sky and flew towards the 9-headed demonic python. Obviously, the black-robed poison master's robe was a very powerful magic tool. It could actually help him fly. Screech! When the 9-headed demonic python saw the black-robed poison master, it roared angrily. The 9-headed demonic python was very intelligent. When it saw the black-robed poison master, it guessed that the black-robed poison master had sent people to provoke it. The 9-headed demonic python immediately went berserk. It opened its 9 heads and spat out all kinds of attacks towards the black-robed poison master. Good timing. The black-robed poison master was not only an expert in concocting poisons, but his strength was also very terrifying. He struck out with his palm, and a huge energy palm condensed into a huge wind. It fiercely collided with the 9-headed demonic python's attack. Rumble! The terrifying energy shock waves spread out, and the surrounding mountains shook violently. Go! The black-robed poison master's disciple, Li Yang, took advantage of the battle between the black-robed poison master and the 9-headed demonic python to sneak into the depths of the valley. Swoosh! At the same time, Lin Feng also sneaked into the depths of the valley. Chapter 216. The battle between the black-robed poison master and the 9-headed python could be said to be earth-shattering. Their battle caused the earth to sink and the mountains to shake. As expected of a high-level martial general, Lin Feng did not expect the black-robed poison master to be so powerful. He originally thought that the most powerful person in the Soul Devourer Temple was the woman Lan Yaoji. However, it seemed that he had guessed wrongly. The most powerful person was the black-robed poison master who had hidden himself well. Li Yang and Lin Feng entered the depths of the valley one after the other. There was a huge cave here. It should be the cave where the nine-headed python lived. Li Yang rushed into the cave with incredible speed. Lin Feng followed closely behind and also rushed into the cave. At this time, the battle between the nine-headed python and the black-robed poison master had reached its climax. Poof! The black-robed poison master condensed a huge ghost claw in the void. It was like a ghost claw of the netherworld and grabbed at the nine-headed python. The nine-headed python tried its best to dodge. Although the nine-headed python dodged the fatal blow, it could not completely avoid the black-robed poison master's attack. The ghost claw, condensed by the black-robed poison, master grabbed one of the nine-headed python's heads. Kacha-kacha. The powerful nine-headed python's head was crushed by the ghost claw. Although it had 9 heads, it was still very damaging to the nine-headed python when one of its heads was crushed. The nine-headed demonic python let out a painful shriek. Its thick tail violently whipped the surrounding mountains. Bang, bang, bang. Loud crashing sounds were heard. The mountains could not withstand the huge force of the nine-headed python's tail and were directly smashed down by the nine-headed python's tail. Lin Feng, who was in the cave, suddenly felt the cave shake violently. Found it! From the depths of the cave, there was a surprised cry. Lin Feng could tell that it was Li Yang's voice. In the depths of the cave, there was a spiritual pool. In the spiritual pool, there was a delicate and beautiful spiritual medicine. The spiritual medicine was purple in color, purple sungrass. That was the 3,000-year-old purple sungrass. It was a priceless treasure. After Li Yang saw the purple sungrass, he quickly rushed towards it. Hiss, hiss, hiss. At this time, a dense group of poisonous snakes rushed towards Li Yang from the top of the cave. There was no way to know how many poisonous snakes there were. This was a snake nest. No. Li Yang's terrified voice came out. In the next moment, he was surrounded by countless poisonous snakes. At that moment, Lin Feng arrived at the entrance of the mountain. When he saw the densely packed poisonous snakes, his scalp went numb. Li Yang was bitten to death by 10,000 snakes. His death was truly too tragic. Heaven's fire, come out! Lin Feng used heaven's fire to protect himself. Hiss, 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 hiss. Lin Feng Li. But he put and put it, and quickly be. Rumble. As soon as Lin Feng came out, he saw that the entire mountain range couldn't withstand the pressure of the nine-headed python's tail and collapsed. Lin Feng was astonished. Fortunately, he ran out in time. Otherwise, he might have been buried in the ruins. He quickly ran away. Oh, I got it! The black-robed poison master saw a figure rushing out of the valley. His eyes lit up. He thought it was Li Yang, but he didn't know that Li Yang had died under the fangs of countless poisonous snakes. While the black-robed poison master was distracted, the nine-headed demonic python, which had one of its heads destroyed, went completely berserk. The nine-headed demonic python moved as fast as lightning, and its ferocious head rushed in front of the black-robed poison master. It opened its bloody mouth and swallowed the black-robed poison master. The black-robed poison master's expression changed. He quickly retreated. However, the nine-headed python was too powerful. The black-robed poison master's left arm was bitten by the nine-headed python. His entire arm was bitten off by the nine-headed python. The black-robed poison master let out an incomparably shrill scream. The nine-headed python's huge tail swept through the air and ruthlessly bombarded the black-robed poison master's body. The The black-robed poison master's body flew out like a kite with a broken string. With a plop, he fell to the ground. My arm, my arm! The black-robed poison master screamed miserably. Elder, run quickly! The surviving cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace quickly helped the black-robed poison master up. They ran away in an extremely sorry state. How could they still dare to fight the nine-headed python? The nine-headed demonic python seemed to have sensed that something was wrong. It didn't chase after the black-robed poison master and the others. Instead, it quickly returned to the valley. Soon, the furious roar of the nine-headed demonic python could be heard from the valley. Obviously, the nine-headed demonic python had discovered that the purple sungrass that it had been guarding for 3,000 years had been stolen. It had gone completely berserk. The nine-headed demonic python rushed out from the valley. Wherever it went, all the mountains and forests were razed to the ground. Lin Feng hid in a dark place and saw the battle between the nine-headed python and the black-robed poison master. The black-robed poison master's arm was bitten off by the nine-headed python. Lin Feng gasped. Then his eyes suddenly lit up. Lin Feng suddenly had an extremely crazy idea in his mind. The black-robed poison master's arm was bitten off by the nine-headed python. He was seriously injured. At this moment, he must be extremely weak. Could he plan a sneak attack on him? The black-robed poison master's cultivation should be at the 7th or 8th layer of the martial general realm. If he was at his peak, he could kill Lin Feng with one palm strike. But now, the situation was different. After the black-robed poison master's arm was bitten off by the nine-headed python, his battle strength was already not bad. If he wanted to kill the black-robed poison master, this was the best opportunity. Moreover, the black-robed poison master only had 5 cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace with him now. If he waited until the black-robed poison master and Lan Yaoji reunited, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens to kill the black-robed poison master. The black-robed poison master has 35 blue-eyed gold snakes. I must get them. Lin Feng clenched his teeth and decided to take a risk. 35 blue-eyed gold snakes might be able to help him break through to the martial general realm. The black-robed poison master and the others were resting in a mountain forest. Lin Feng took advantage of the darkness to appear. He had disguised himself as Li Yang. The reason why he chose to attack at night was because he was worried that his identity would be exposed during the day. My good disciple, you didn't show up for so long, I thought you took the violet sungrass and ran away. Luckily, you came back in time. Otherwise, I would have used the poison heart curse. The black-robed poison master said gloomily, My good disciple, you didn't show up for so long, I thought you had taken the violet sungrass and escaped. The poison heart curse was an extremely terrifying poison. Once it was used, the victim would suffer a fate worse than death. Lin Feng cursed inwardly. This old poison master was really a bastard. He had even taken precautions against his own disciple. He had actually used such a vicious poison on his disciple. At that moment, Lin Feng quickly arrived in front of the black-robed poison master. Because his hair was loose and it was dark, Lin Feng had imitated Li Yang's voice. So no one realized that Lin Feng was a fake. Lin Feng lowered his head and arrived in front of the black-robed poison master. He presented a white jade box with both hands and said respectfully, Master, the violet sungrass is in this white jade box. He, the violet sungrass is finally in my hands. In order to obtain it, I lost an arm, but it was worth it. The black-robed poison master opened the white jade box. His expression suddenly changed because the box was empty. Who are you? The black-robed poison master shouted angrily. Boom! Lin Feng exploded. He raised his head and revealed his young and delicate face. "It's me. I'm here to take your life." A loud explosion sounded out. Lin Feng had directly used the Qiong-Qi treasured technique and attacked the black-robed poison master. Chapter 217. "Brat, it's actually you." The black-robed poison master clearly didn't expect that his disciple, Li Yang, was actually someone else in disguise, and it was Lin Feng in disguise. This gave him a huge shock. The black-robed poison master's reaction was extremely fast. When Lin Feng attacked, he raised his hand and was about to slap Lin Feng. However, it was already too late. Lin Feng's speed was too fast. Moreover, it was a sneak attack at such a close distance. The black-robed poison master was completely caught off guard. He wanted to block Lin Feng's attack, but it was already too late. Bang! Lin Feng's powerful attack ruthlessly smashed into the black-robed poison master's body. Kacha kacha! The black-robed poison master was sent flying, and who knew how many bones in his body were broken? Lin Feng wanted to quickly rush forward and deal with the black-robed poison master. At this moment, the other cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace shouted, "Attack together! Kill this brat!" These people recovered from their shock. They didn't expect that this Li Yang was actually an imposter. Now that they saw Lin Feng, their eyes were filled with killing intent. If they could really kill Lin Feng and save the black-robed poison master, the black-robed poison master would definitely benefit from them in the future. The few cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace were filled with killing intent as they quickly rushed towards Lin Feng. These cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace weren't weak, but they hadn't broken through to the martial general realm. Compared to Lin Feng, there was still a large gap. Facing the siege of 5 experts of the Soul Devourer Palace, Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. Boom, 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 boom. He consecutively threw out 5 punches. Each punch was powerful and contained a terrifying power that could destroy the heavens and earth. Bang, bang, bang. Muffled sounds of collisions rang out, accompanied by the sound of bones breaking. The 5 cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace had their arms broken by Lin Feng's punch. Then, Lin Feng's powerful punch ruthlessly smashed into the chest of the cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace. Kacha kacha! These cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace had their chests caved in from Lin Feng's punch. The 5 cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace didn't even have the chance to scream before they were killed by Lin Feng's punch. Plop! Their bodies fell to the ground. They were already dead. "Junior, you actually have such strength?" The black-robed poison master climbed up from the ground. He looked gloomily at Lin Feng. When Lin Feng had become a prisoner, he hadn't paid attention to Lin Feng at all. He hadn't thought that Lin Feng would be so strong. After all, Lin Feng was only 16 years old. No matter how strong he was, how powerful could he be? Until this moment, the black-robed poison master, I'm still inferior to the black-robed poison master. But one of your arms has been bitten off by the 9-headed demon python. So, you've been severely injured. Then, you've been hit by my attack a moment ago. So, how much fighting strength can you display now? 20? Looks like this place will be your burial ground. Lin Feng sneered. The black-robed poison master was a devil cultivator who willfully slaughtered the innocent. Killing him was a blessing to the world. Lin Feng didn't feel any guilt. Instead, he felt like he was doing something chivalrous, helping the people get rid of a scourge. This was the so-called ancient path of chivalry. The black-robed poison master gloomily looked at Lin Feng and shouted, "Where's my blue-eyed gold snake?" "Ha ha! You want me to become your medicine slave, to nurture your blue-eyed golden snake. You don't know that, in my opinion, the blue-eyed golden snake is just my nourishment. I've already refined the blue-eyed golden snake. It's all thanks to your blue-eyed golden snake. Without it, breaking through to the next level would have been much easier. Lin Feng laughed, hearing that his blue-eyed gold snake, which he had spent so much effort to nurture, had been refined by Lin Feng. The black-robed poison master almost exploded with rage. He angrily roared, "Brat, you're courting death. You're courting death. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to tear you to pieces." As soon as he finished speaking, the black-robed poison master patted a green pouch at his waist. When he saw the green pouch, Lin Feng's eyelids twitched violently. He felt that there was something wrong with that green pouch. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the next moment, a dense swarm of insects flew out of the green pouch. A beast slave pouch. That green pouch was actually a beast slave pouch. It was said that beast slave pouches were used to store spirit beasts. If a spirit beast was stored in a beast slave pouch, the spirit beast wouldn't die. Lin Feng clearly saw the insects flying out of the beast slave pouch. They were actually winged spiders. They were flying spiders. They were extremely poisonous. An overwhelming number of flying spiders flew out of the beast slave pouch and pounced towards Lin Feng. No wonder the black-robed poison master. This old thing still had a fearless expression even though he was seriously injured. It turned out that he still had such a backup plan. The overwhelming number of flying spiders pounced over, destroying whoever they saw. Even a martial king expert would have to think twice before coming here. Therefore, the black-robed poison master didn't put Lin Feng in his eyes at all. Because of these flying spiders, he thought that Lin Feng would die without a doubt. However, the black-robed poison master would never have imagined that Lin Feng had such a terrifying thing as the heavenly fire. Facing the dense swarm of flying spiders, Lin Feng directly took out the heavenly fire. Huff, 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 the heavenly fire burned the heavens and the earth. In the void, flames lingered. The dense swarm of flying spiders was enveloped by the heavenly fire. Although these flying spiders were powerful, they couldn't withstand the attack of the heavenly fire. After being burned by the heavenly fire, the dense swarm of spiders fell to the ground, burned alive by Lin Feng's heavenly fire. The remaining flying spiders were frightened and fled in all directions. How is this possible? This is absolutely impossible. Flying spiders are impervious to fire and water. How could they be burned to death? The black-robed poison master roared in disbelief. Lin Feng sneered inwardly. Flying spiders could withstand ordinary fire, but could they withstand the attack of the heavenly fire? This was the sacred fire that had been nurtured during the creation of the world. Of course, Lin Feng wouldn't say this to the black-robed poison master. Die! Lin Feng took out the black dragon sword and charged towards the black-robed poison master with it. The black-robed poison master's expression was gloomy. He was seriously injured and didn't want to continue fighting. The black-robed poison master waved his robe, and a cloud of black gas enveloped him. Poison! Lin Feng's expression changed slightly, and he quickly retreated. The black-robed poison master turned and fled. Where do you think you're going? Lin Feng's gaze was cold as he threw out the black dragon sword with all his strength. Groan! A dragon's roar could be faintly heard from the black dragon sword. The black dragon sword seemed to transform into a black dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it shot towards the black-robed poison master. Black tortoise shield. Facing the attack of the black dragon sword, the black-robed poison master took out a defensive magic treasure. This defensive magic treasure was shaped like a black tortoise. The black-robed poison master held it in his hand and blocked in front of him. He wanted to use the black tortoise shield to block the attack of the black dragon sword. However, the black dragon sword's power was too terrifying, and it directly pierced through the shield. With a poochie sound, The black dragon's sword instantly pierced through the black-robed poison master's chest. The black-robed poison master looked down at the black dragon's sword that had pierced through his chest and muttered in disbelief. "How is this possible? I actually died at the hands of a 16 or 17-year-old boy." The black-robed poison master fell to the ground, facing the sky. Before he died, his eyes were wide open in anger. Chapter 2:18. He's finally dead. After killing the black-robed poison master, Lin Feng could finally breathe a sigh of relief. After a life-and-death battle, he had survived. Lin Feng was excited. After killing the black-robed poison master, all the treasures on his body would belong to him. Lin Feng quickly went forward and took the black-robed poison master's storage ring and the beast slave pouch hanging on his waist. Then he released a ball of flame and wrapped it around the black-robed poison master and the other demonic cultivators' corpses, burning them to ashes. After doing all this, Lin Feng left. The night was as cold as water. In the dense forest, the roars of beasts could be heard from time to time. Powerful, vicious beasts would choose to come out at night to hunt for food. Lin Feng found a safe place to hide and took out the things he had obtained from the black-robed poison master. Lin Feng looked at the beast slave pouch first. Previously, the black-robed poison master had used the beast slave pouch to release numerous flying spiders. Lin Feng wondered what was in the beast slave pouch. Lin Feng's divine sense entered the beast slave pouch. Immediately, he saw numerous poisonous creatures. There were scorpions, flying spiders, all kinds of poisonous insects, and of course, 35 blue-eyed gold snakes. This old poison master actually raised so many highly poisonous creatures. Lin Feng couldn't help but be speechless. Many of these poisonous creatures were extremely rare and highly poisonous. For example, a 1,000-legged centipede. As long as one was stung by this poisonous creature, one would die in less than 3 seconds. It's not easy to collect these poisonous creatures. Now it's all mine. Lin Feng was overjoyed. If he was in a life-and-death battle with others, he might be able to use these poisonous creatures to achieve unexpected results. Although the method was a bit despicable, in the world of cultivators, people only remembered those who lived, not those who died. The most important thing was to try his best to survive. Lin Feng then looked at the storage ring of the black-robed poison master. This black-robed poison master's status in the Soul Devourer Palace should be no small matter. Presumably, this old poison master should have a lot of treasures on him. When Lin Feng's divine will invaded the storage ring, suddenly a sharp and ear-piercing cry was heard. "Brat, I'll destroy you. I'll completely destroy you." A remnant soul appeared and charged towards Lin Feng's mind. This remnant soul was actually a remnant soul left behind by the black-robed poison master in his storage ring. He wanted to perish together with Lin Feng. "Black-robed poison master, your physical body has been destroyed, and only your soul remains. You are no longer a threat to me." Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. Facing the black-robed poison master's attack, Lin Feng summoned the purple earthcore fire. The heavenly fire burned fiercely. Chi, 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 chi. The sound of burning could be heard. The black-robed poison master let out a miserable cry. His remnant soul was dissipating bit by bit. "Brat, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. I curse you to die 10 times more miserably than me." The black-robed poison master cursed bitterly. In the next moment, his remnant soul was completely burned to ashes by the heavenly fire. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He didn't care about a dead person's curse at all. The remnant soul left behind by the black-robed poison master in the storage ring was destroyed. Lin Feng's divine will invaded the storage ring of the black-robed poison master. The storage ring was about 5 or 6 square meters. Although it wasn't particularly big, it was filled with all kinds of things. In addition to all kinds of spiritual herbs, there were also many poisons, poisonous herbs, and so on. After all, the black-robed poison master was a poison master and was best at dealing with all kinds of poisons. There were also some books on cultivation, but Lin Feng wasn't interested in them. The only thing he was interested in was the book on poison left behind by the poison master in the Black Chong Pao. There were many ways to concoct poison in that book. In the storage ring, there were also boxes of spirit stones. There were a total of 10 boxes of spirit stones. What made Lin Feng dumbfounded was that these spirit stones were all high-grade spirit stones of excellent quality. These spirit stones were a rare resource. Only ancient powers, or even more powerful ancient powers, could control the resources of spirit stones. Spirit stones were a cultivation resource that couldn't be bought with money. They were extremely precious. An ordinary low-grade spirit stone was worth a lot, not to mention high-grade spirit stones. In the black-robed poison master storage ring, there were actually 10 boxes of high-grade spirit stones. These high-grade spirit stones were enough to buy dozens of cities. I'm really rich. There are so many high-grade spirit stones. Lin Feng's face was full of joy. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes were attracted by a white robe. This white robe was emitting an astonishing fluctuation. It was actually an expensive robe. Robes were much more precious than ordinary robes. Not only did robes have a strong defensive power, many robes also allowed cultivators to have the ability to fly for a short period of time. Although it wasn't fast and couldn't fly for a long time, it was already very amazing. Lin Feng valued the defensive power of this robe. He took it out and put it on. The size was very suitable. In addition to the robe, there were 2 other treasures. The first treasure was a metal ball that contained strong magical fluctuations. Lin Feng took it out and sacrificed it with his blood. It was also a defensive celestial device. The second treasure was a flying sword. This flying sword was pitch black, heavy, and cold. It was called the Black Profound Frost Sword. It was a high-grade celestial device and was extremely precious. It was much more valuable than ordinary flying swords. After killing the black-robed poison master and obtaining so many treasures, Lin Feng was very happy. Of course, the most important thing was that Lin Feng had obtained 35 blue-eyed gold snakes. He took out all 35 of them. These snakes stuck out their forked tongues as if they wanted to attack Lin Feng. Humph! Lin Feng sneered and immediately activated his devouring martial spirit. A black hole appeared and swallowed all 35 snakes. Bang, bang, bang. A series of explosions rang out, and the 35 blue-eyed gold coin snakes all exploded, turning into the purest form of energy. Lin Feng began to absorb this energy. Boom, boom, boom. Within Lin Feng's body, waves of tyrannical power exploded and rose crazily. This power was enough to shake the mountains and rivers. Lin Feng's power rose crazily. He originally had a strength of 800 million pounds. Soon, it broke through to 1 billion and continued to soar. 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion, it rose all the way to 10 billion. Breakthrough, breakthrough, breakthrough. Feeling the terrifying power rising in his body, Lin Feng roared 3 times. All the power in his body gathered together and formed the shadow of an immemorial dragon-esque elephant. Within Lin Feng's dantian, the immemorial dragon-esque elephant stepped on the ground and roared into the sky. Its roar shook the mountains and rivers. Lin Feng opened his eyes and stood up. He laughed loudly. Ha ha! The strength of a dragon-esque elephant. I've finally reached the martial general realm. Lin Feng jumped up and punched a 10,000-meter-high mountain in the distance. Bang! The palm hit the 10,000-meter-high mountain, and the entire mountain instantly collapsed. Chapter 219. The strength of a dragon elephant is really powerful. Lin Feng let out a long roar. He felt refreshed and high-spirited. When an ordinary cultivator broke through to the general realm, they would have the strength of one dragon, which was equivalent to 1 billion gene of strength. This was the first layer of the general realm. At the second layer of the general realm, their strength could reach 5 dragons. At the third layer of the general realm, their strength could reach 25 dragons. At the fourth layer of the general realm, their strength could reach 125 dragons. At the 10th layer of the general realm, their strength could reach 1,953,125 dragons. With every increase in level, one's cultivation would increase greatly. And when Lin Feng broke through to the general realm, the strength of a dragon elephant was equivalent to the strength of 10 dragons. He had just broken through to the general realm, and he could already crush a second layer general. If Lin Feng's third layer devouring martial spirit was activated, his strength could reach the strength of 3 dragon elephants, which was equivalent to an ordinary cultivator's strength of 30 dragons. At this time, Lin Feng could easily crush cultivators of the third sky of martial general layer. This time, for Lin Feng, it was a pleasant surprise. After breaking through, Lin Feng did not stop and quickly flew in the direction of Fallen Moon City. On the way, Lin Feng saw Lan Yao and the others. Lan Yao and the others were still searching for Lin Feng's whereabouts. Enemies are really bound to meet on a narrow road. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes and looked at Lan Yao. Lin Feng naturally did not have any good impression of Lan Yao, who was as beautiful as an angel on the outside, but as terrifying as a devil on the inside. No matter how beautiful a woman with a poisonous heart was on the outside, it was only a kind of external beauty and not a beauty in the heart. Perhaps I can find an opportunity to capture this Lan Yao. Lin Feng rubbed his chin. Lan Yao's strength was quite terrifying. Lin Feng guessed that her strength was at least at the third layer of the general realm. The most likely realm was the 4th or 5th layer of the general realm. It was naturally very difficult to deal with her. If it was the Lin Feng before his breakthrough, he would definitely run for his life the moment he saw Blue Enchantress. However, now that Lin Feng had broken through to the martial general realm, his strength had increased tremendously. If he used the formation, he might be able to capture Lan Xiaoji alive. Lin Feng made up his mind and dashed off into the distance. In a valley, Lin Feng laid down 3 great formations. The first was the Azure Dragon Grand Formation. The second was the Hurricane Grand Formation. And the third was the Winding Grand Formation. These 3 formations were set up to deal with Lan Xiaoji. Lan Yaoji and the others searched for Lin Feng for a few days, but they couldn't find Lin Feng. A Soul Devourer Hall cultivator said, "Elder Blue, that kid should have escaped, right? Otherwise, why would there be no news at all?" Lan Yaoji frowned and said, "I have a feeling that the kid is still in this forest. I just don't know where he is hiding. My instincts have never been wrong. He is severely injured, and there is even a green-eyed golden snake in his body. Where can he run to?" Swoosh! At that moment, a figure flashed in the distance. "It's that kid!" A Soul Devourer Hall cultivator suddenly shouted. He saw Lin Feng. "Chase him." Lan Yaoji's beautiful eyes suddenly lit up, and she immediately chased after him. The others also quickly chased after him, but they still couldn't find Lin Feng. "Split up and look for him. If you see him, immediately use the flying celestial flame to contact me," ordered Lan Yaoji. "Understood." The other Soul Devourer Hall cultivators quickly dispersed. "You can't escape." sneered Lan Yaoji. She ran into the forest and disappeared without a trace. 2 hours later, Lan Yaoji saw a figure in the forest in front of her. Found him. She quickly chased after him, and a charming smile appeared on her beautiful face. You're really good at running, but you can't escape from me. Lin Feng turned around and looked at Lan Yaoji. He smiled coldly and said, Hee hee, it won't be that easy to catch me. Is that so? I'd like to see if you can escape from me. Lan Yaoji smiled coldly and chased after him. Besides, Lin Feng was moving towards the depths of the forest. He was running at full speed towards the valley, where he had set up a gigantic deployment spell. Lan Yaoji caught up with him after a short while. Lan Yaoji glanced around and saw that the valley was the only place she could hide. She sneered and ran into the valley. Come out. I know you're hiding here. It's useless. You can't escape today, said Lan Yaoji coldly. Ha ha, I think it's you who can't escape today. Suddenly, a loud laugh came from 100-meter-tall mountain. Lan Yaoji raised her head and saw Lin Feng at the top of the mountain. He was looking at her with evil intentions. When she saw Lin Feng's expression, Lan Yaoji's heart skipped a beat. She had a feeling that something wasn't right. Retreat. Lan Yaoji immediately ran out of the valley, but it was too late for her to retreat. Great formation, activate! Lin Feng shouted and injected his true qi into the great formation he had set up. Buzz! The great formation was activated in order to set up the 3 great formations. Lin Feng had spent dozens of precious materials. He had spent more than a year collecting them, but it was worth it to deal with Lan Yaoji. Great formation. Lan Yaoji's expression changed slightly. She couldn't enter the formation. Lan Yaoji understood this very well. She knew how dangerous it was to be trapped in a great formation. But when she thought about how the person who had set up the formation was Lin Feng, she felt relieved. It took many years of hard work to become a high-level spiritual formation master. Lin Feng was so young, so Lan Yaoji didn't believe that Lin Feng was a powerful spiritual formation master. In Lan Yaoji's opinion, Lin Feng was probably just a beginner spiritual formation master. He knew how to set up a few very simple great formations. But she didn't need to be afraid of such a simple great formation. You want to trap me with a great formation? What a joke! Today, I'll destroy the great formation you've set up. Lan Yaoji sneered and slammed her palm towards the runes that were floating in the air. Bang! When Lan Yaoji's palm hit the runes, a powerful rebounding force exploded. That powerful rebounding force forced Lan Yaoji to retreat. How is this possible? Lan Yaoji was in disbelief. Lin Feng laughed. Lan Yaoji, I'm a yellow rank, low rank, and peak spiritual formation master. Even the black-robed poison master couldn't break my great formation, let alone you. What? Yellow rank, low rank, and peak spiritual formation master? That's impossible. Lan Yaoji shouted in disbelief. Chapter 220. It was not easy to become a spirit array master. Lan Yaoji came from a large demonic faction like the Soul Devourer Palace, so she naturally knew how difficult it was to become a spirit array master. In the early years, Lan Yaoji was even tested to be a spirit array master. She cultivated for 10 years, but she did not have any achievements, so she gave up on becoming a spirit array master. Even in a large faction like the Soul Devourer Palace, there were only 4 or 5 spirit array masters. Lin Feng was only 16 or 17 years old, but he was already a yellow rank beginner and peak spirit array master. This was indeed too shocking. Many people came into contact with spirit arrays from the age of 10. By the age of 30, it was already quite heaven-defying to be able to cultivate to the yellow rank beginner and peak spirit array master. Even if Lin Feng started cultivating spirit arrays in his mother's womb, he would not be able to break through to the yellow rank beginner and peak spirit array master, right? Just now, you were bounced back by the spirit array I set up. Doesn't that explain everything? Lin Feng smiled. Lan Jiaoji suppressed the shock in her heart. She said, "So what if you're a yellow rank beginner and peak spirit array master? I'm at the 5th level of the martial general realm. Do you think you can deal with me with this array? At most, you can trap me and make me unable to leave. If you want to use a mere array to catch me, it's simply wishful thinking." "How would I know if I don't try?" Lin Feng sneered. He waved his right hand, and the first layer of the green dragon array was activated. White fog lingered. Amidst the rolling white fog, a huge monster appeared. The huge monster was 1,000 meters long. It was like a mountain lying in the void. It was winding and spiraling, vigorous and powerful. This was the green dragon condensed by the green dragon array. Green dragon claws. The huge green dragon attacked, and its mountain-like claws slapped towards Lan Jiaoji. "It's actually in green dragon." Lan Jiaoji's expression became slightly serious. She came from a faction like the Soul Devourer Palace and had been a spirit array apprentice for 10 years. Naturally, she knew that the green dragon condensed by the array was definitely very powerful. Facing the green dragon's attack, Lan Jiaoji did not stop and slapped her palm towards the green dragon. Bang! The two sides clashed fiercely. Dang, 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 dang. Lan Yaoji felt a terrifying power enter her body, and she was forced to retreat. With just this attack, Lan Yaoji knew how powerful Lin Feng's formation was. "Kid, we can negotiate. What do you think?" Lan Yaoji was a very decisive person. She actually wanted to negotiate with Lin Feng. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't agree. "Are you dreaming?" Lin Feng sneered and activated the second formation. Hoo hoo hoo. Violent winds swept across the world. The second formation was the hurricane formation. Once it was activated, it could form a violent hurricane. Gusts of hurricanes began to blow in the valley. These tornadoes had a powerful suction force that enveloped Lan Yaoji. Lan Yaoji couldn't even stand still and was almost swept into the air by the hurricane array. This made Lan Yaoji's expression become very ugly. However, she was a 5th firmament martial general after all, and she had many tricks up her sleeves. When she was about to be swept into the air, Lan Yaoji used a technique called 1,000-kilogram drop. Once this technique was used, the weight of the body would increase by more than 1,000 times. Lan Yaoji allowed the hurricane to sweep over her, but she remained as still as a mountain. This Lan Yaoji is so powerful that even the hurricane can't blow her away. Seeing that Lan Yaoji blocked the hurricane attack, Lin Feng was slightly surprised. However, he continued to attack Azure Dragon and Blue Demoness. The green dragon extended its claw towards Lan Yaoji again. At the same time, Lin Feng silently snuck towards Lan Yaoji. He held the black dragon sword in his hand and slashed towards Lan Yaoji from the back. In front of her was the giant green dragon condensed by the green dragon formation, while behind her was Lin Feng, who had silently snuck over. One in front and one in the back, one in the light, and one in the dark, they attacked Lan Yaoji. Who would have thought that Lan Yaoji would be so powerful? Lan Yaoji's body emitted a terrifying power that made Lin Feng feel suffocated. Clearly, Lan Yaoji had begun to display the peak strength of a 5th firmament martial general. She slapped towards the green dragon with her left hand, and with a flash of light in her right hand, a short sword appeared in her hand. Lan Yaoji seemed to have eyes on her back, as she casually slashed towards her back. Clang! A sonorous sound of collision rang out as Lan Yaoji's short sword collided with Lin Feng's black dragon sword. Lan Yaoji's short sword was clearly a powerful treasure, as it was able to block the black dragon sword's sharpness. A terrifying power flowed into Lin Feng's body through the black dragon sword and directly sent Lin Feng flying. Lin Feng felt his blood and qi churn, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He quickly circulated his devouring martial spirit to devour the violent power that had entered his body, and only then did he feel much better. So powerful! Lin Feng was shocked. A fifth firmament martial general was indeed terrifying. He was suppressed by the formation, and with the help of his true body, he was actually at a disadvantage. From this, it could be seen how powerful Lan Yaoji was. Lan Yaoji quickly flew towards Lin Feng and stabbed her sword towards Lin Feng. She actually wanted to kill Lin Feng. Binding formation. Lin Feng activated the third formation, and dense threads appeared in the air, and those threads quickly wrapped around Lan Yaoji's body. There's a third formation. Lan Yaoji's expression changed slightly, but her reaction was extremely fast. Lan Yaoji quickly attacked, and the short sword in her hand started to burn fiercely. It was indeed a powerful magic tool, and there was a layer of flames coiling around it. Lan Yaoji used the short sword to instantly cut off the threads that were wrapped around her body. But at this moment, Lin Feng had already rushed over. Lin Feng slapped towards Lan Yaoji. Lan Yaoji had just used the short sword to cut off the threads that were wrapped around her body. At this moment, it was already too late to block Lin Feng's attack. With a muffled bang, Lan Yaoji was sent flying by Lin Feng's slap, and her pretty face became very pale. Her body flew backwards. Lin Feng activated the binding formation again. Dense threads wrapped around Lan Yaoji's body again, and the short sword in Lan Yaoji's hand fell to the ground. This time, she couldn't resist and fell to the ground with a thud. Lin Feng quickly rushed over and tapped Lan Yaoji's body 3 times in a row. He directly dispersed Lan Yaoji's true qi, and for a short period of time, Lan Yaoji lost her ability to fight. Lan Yaoji also discovered that her true qi had been dispersed by Lin Feng, and her face immediately became pale. Chapter 221. She quickly calmed herself down and looked at Lin Feng as she said, "I really didn't expect you to be such a monstrous person. You're so young yet so powerful, and you're also such a powerful spirit array master. My defeat today wasn't unjustified." Lin Feng was slightly surprised by Lan Xiaoji's calmness, and he asked, "What? You don't seem to be worried about being captured by me." Lan Xiaoji said, "From what I see, there's always room for a buffer. It's not like there's a situation where one of us has to die. You didn't treat me like this back then." Lin Feng pinched Lan Xiaoji's snow-white chin, and his right hand slowly moved downwards. He stroked Lan Xiaoji's snow-white, slender neck, and it seemed like he was going to continue moving downwards. Even though Lan Xiaoji looked like a seductive vixen, she wasn't a lascivious woman. Instead, she was very conservative. When she saw Lin Feng's actions, she cried out in fear, "What are you doing? Are you finally afraid?" Lin Feng looked at Lan Xiaoji with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. Lan Xiaoji bit her red lips and said, "If you're a man, you can't bully a woman like this." "What? You're admitting that you're a woman now? Before this, I always thought that you were a demon who killed without batting an eyelid." Lin Feng finally placed his hand on the enormous thing. "It's really big." Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. Lan Xiaoji's face was so red that it seemed like it could bleed. She said, "You can take advantage of me, but I won't submit to you." Lin Feng said, "Is that so? I'm quite interested in taking you in as a slave." Lin Feng narrowed his eyes as he looked at Lan Xiaoji. She had a peerlessly beautiful face and a peerlessly beautiful body. If he really had such a peerless female slave, it would be quite a good thing. When that time came, Tian Tian would probably be too tired to get out of bed. You. Lan Xiaoji's gaze turned cold. Hee, are you feeling discouraged? Before this, you've always been high and mighty. You can even casually take the lives of others and trample on lives as you wish. You never imagined that you would one day become someone's slave, right? Lin Feng sneered as he looked at Lan Xiaoji. You want to take me as your slave? Are you even worthy? Lan Xiaoji said coldly, whether I'm worthy or not, we'll have to try. If you're smart, you should take the initiative to swear a blood oath and recognize me as your master. Lin Feng said. Just kill me, said Lin Feng. Lan Yaoji turned her face to the side. It would be a pity to kill you. Lin Feng's hand moved up and down Lan Jiaji's body. No, Lan Yaoji screamed and wanted to struggle, but Lin Feng held her down, and she couldn't get away. She could only let Lin Feng do whatever he wanted to her. Soon, Lan Jiaoji felt a reaction in her body, although he was very resistant in his heart. However, her body was sometimes hard to resist. Her breathing gradually became hurried. I'm wondering if I should strip you naked, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled as he looked at Lan Jiaoji. No, Lan Jiaoji screamed in fear. At that moment, when Lan Jiaoji was panicking and unprepared, Lin Feng's powerful soul power entered her mind. Lan Jiaoji would never submit to him. Lin Feng knew that very well. Therefore, he wanted to forcibly imprint his soul on Lan Jiaoji's soul. That way, Lan Jiaoji would be considered as Lin Feng's slave. Lan Jiaoji couldn't even resist. That was because Lin Feng could sense her thoughts. If Lan Jiaoji had any bad thoughts, Lin Feng only needed a thought to kill her. When Lin Feng teased Lan Jiaoji before, it was just to distract her. It wasn't easy to forcibly enslave a cultivator at Lan Jiaoji's level. However, if Blue Demoness was distracted, it would be much easier to deal with her. Lin Feng's powerful soul power entered Lan Jiaoji's mind and quickly swept towards her soul. But at that moment, a terrifying aura was emitted from Lan Jiaoji's mind. Something's wrong. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. He realized that something was wrong and wanted to quickly leave Lan Jiaoji's mind. But it was too late. 12 white-clothed fairies appeared in Lan Jiaoji's mind. They walked over and surrounded Lin Feng's soul. What's this? Lin Feng was shocked. He didn't think that something like this would happen. What were these 12 fairies? How could they be so strange? Little boy, do you think I don't know that you want to forcibly leave a soul brand in my soul? I was cooperating with you because I was worried that you wouldn't do it. Now, your soul has entered my mind. Let's see how you're going to escape today. I'll destroy your soul, and you'll die. Lan Jiaoji's soul turned into her appearance and stood in the distance. She coldly looked at Lin Feng's soul, which had entered her mind. Lan Jiaoji had been scheming against Lin Feng all this time. Woman, you're really treacherous, said Lin Feng coldly. A man with a small heart isn't a gentleman, but it's not as difficult as a woman. A woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the ocean. You men think that you're smart, but in reality, you're still being played by me, said Lan Jiaoji coldly. What are these 12 fairies? Asked Lin Feng coldly. Ha ha ha, of course they're here to kill you, said Lan Jiaoji coldly. Then she used the 12 fairies to attack Lin Feng's soul. The 12 fairies attacked with swords. Their chi was terrifying. Lin Feng's heart was pounding. Soul sword. Lin Feng's soul turned into a sword and rushed towards Lan Jiaoji's soul. Since he couldn't make Lan Jiaoji recognize him as her master, Lin Feng decided to kill her. "You really don't know how to be gentle with a woman," said Lan Jiaoji coldly. "Why should I be gentle with a woman like you who kills people like flies?" said Lin Feng coldly. His soul sword slashed at Lan Jiaoji, but the 12 fairies blocked it. Boom! The two sides collided violently. A terrifying strength exploded. The 12 celestial beings were terrifying. Lin Feng's tiny soul and Lan Yaoji's tiny soul started fighting. After a few hundred attacks, both sides were injured. Lin Feng's tiny soul went back to his brain. Lan Yaoji's 12 celestial beings didn't chase after Lin Feng's tiny soul. Their faces were deathly pale. They sat down on the ground, gasping for breath. Soul battles were too dangerous. In the end, their souls had been injured, and they couldn't move anymore. Chapter 222. In the end, both sides were heavily injured. Lin Feng looked coldly at Lan Jiaoji and said, "I didn't expect you to have such a big secret in your mind. Once I recover, I'll dig it out." Lan Jiaoji pouted, "My cultivation is higher than yours. Even if I recover, I'll be the first to recover, not you. Let's wait and see." Lin Feng stood up and leaned against a tree, trying his best to recover. Lan Jiaoji did the same. Lin Feng used the archaic dragonesque elephant technique. The archaic dragonesque elephant's power nourished Lin Feng's soul origin. His injured soul origin was quickly recovering. Lan Jiaoji was also using some sort of technique to quickly heal her injured soul. Lin Feng's archaic dragonesque elephant technique was the #1 forbidden technique of the immemorial era. Naturally, it would heal his injured soul origin very quickly. Lin Feng felt that the pain in his soul was slowly disappearing. At the same time, the body's strength was also rapidly recovering. After 2 hours, Lin Feng had recovered 30%. He quickly stood up and walked towards Lan Jiaoji. "How did you recover so quickly?" Lan Jiaoji's expression changed drastically. "Hee, I can't answer that." Lin Feng slammed his palm towards Lan Jiaoji. Buzz. At that moment, a terrifying wave surged out of Lan Jiaoji's mind. Then, 12 white-clothed fairies rushed out with swords. How is this possible? Lin Feng was stupefied. He couldn't believe his eyes. He had always thought that the 12 fairies in Lan Jiaoji's mind were just soul attacks. Now, it seemed like that wasn't the case. They had actually flown out of Lan Jiaoji's mind and attacked him. This was too shocking. Whoosh. Lin Feng quickly retreated. Boom, the 12 fairies slashed out with their swords, and a large part of the forest was destroyed. Lin Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. The attack of these 12 fairies was too terrifying. However, he retreated fast enough. Otherwise, if this attack landed on him, he would most likely die. After the 12 fairies attacked, they didn't continue to attack Lin Feng. Lan Xiaoji's face was very pale. It was clear that Lan Yaoji had paid a great price to use such an ultimate move. The 12 fairies quickly returned to Lan Jiaoji's mind. Lan Jiaoji actually coughed up blood. "I'll remember you. Next time I see you, I'll kill you." Lan Xiaoji gritted her teeth. Bang! In the next moment, Lan Jiaoji's body exploded. She turned into a cloud of black mist and flew into the distance. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. This should be the Soul Devourer Temple's secret escape technique. Lin Feng wanted to chase after it, but he could no longer catch up. This woman has hidden herself very deeply. How terrifying! Lin Feng frowned slightly. However, Lin Feng wasn't worried or afraid. Even though this woman's strength was extraordinary and she was hiding many secrets, Lin Feng wasn't afraid. But wasn't Lin Feng the same? Lin Feng was convinced that with his cultivation speed, he would be able to surpass Lan Yao Ji very quickly. Lin Feng didn't stop. He spread his golden wings and quickly flew towards Fallen Moon City. Fallen Moon City was built in a mountain range. 800 miles of mountain range was the border between Zhenwu country and the Orc Empire. It was said that a peerless cultivator of the human race had moved the mountain range from a distant place to separate the human race and the Orc Empire. 10 days later, Lin Feng arrived in front of a mountain range. I've arrived at the Fallen Moon mountain range. It's not far from Fallen Moon City. Lin Feng took a deep breath. Many things had happened on the way, but at least he had arrived safely. The next day, in the afternoon, Lin Feng could already see the majestic and ancient city. Fallen Moon City. Lin Feng quickly flew towards Fallen Moon City. Suddenly, he saw a mass of demon qi flying through the mountain range. A demon qi cultivator. Lin Feng was astonished. This was the territory of Fallen Moon City. How could a demon qi cultivator sneak in? How could those demon qi cultivators be so audacious? That massive demon qi turned into a middle-aged man. That middle-aged man was wearing black clothes. His eyes were gloomy, and he was releasing a terrifying qi. Lin Feng was hiding in the dark. He was silently observing. When night fell, a silhouette flew out of Fallen Moon City. It was a man wearing Taoist robes. He looked around 27 or 28 years old. He was very handsome. Wu Yangtian, you're late, said the demon qi cultivator coldly. It's not that I'm late, it's that you're early. It's not even dark yet, and you're already here. Aren't you afraid of being discovered? You're not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of being implicated, said the man called Wu Yangtian coldly. Wu Yangtian, aren't you a little too cowardly? What are you afraid of in this vast mountain range? If you're discovered, just kill him, said the demon qi cultivator coldly. Elderly, you don't have to worry. If worse comes to worst, I'll just leave. I'm betting my life on this, said Wu Yangtian coldly. All right, let's stop arguing. I called you here today to tell you our plan, said Li Doxi. Oh, plan? Wu Yangtian looked at Li Doxi. Li Doxi said, originally, there were a few masters who wanted to secretly intervene in the war between the Beastmen and Zhenwu country, but Sun Moon City also sent a few masters to confront them. But that's good. We'll attack together with the Beastmen and destroy Fallen Moon City first. Then we'll invade and conquer Zhenwu country. Then Zhenwu country will become the base of the Soul Devourer Temple, and it'll be the foundation for the Soul Devourer Temple to rise again. You'll be the Emperor of Zhenwu country. Good, very good, shouted Wu Yangtian excitedly. Li Doxi gave a brocade to Wu Yangtian and said, the details are written on it. Go back and burn it. All right. Wu Yangtian nodded. Suddenly, Li Doxi's expression changed. Who's there? Shouted Li Doxi coldly. His gaze swept across his surroundings. Someone's there. Wu Yangtian's expression became gloomy, but he didn't see anyone. Oh no, have I been discovered? Or is he trying to trick me? Lin Feng's expression changed. Lin Feng didn't act rashly. He hid himself even more. The demon cultivator was terrifyingly strong. He might even be a great king. You don't want to come out. Li Doxi smiled coldly. Demonic lights dashed to the sky from Li Doxi's dantian. Primeval demon master, primeval demon master. A deep roar spread in the air. 12 terrifying figures flew out from the demonic lights. When Lin Feng looked closely, he saw 12 skulls. The 12 skulls quickly flew away, releasing a demonic fog. The surrounding mountains were crushed by the demonic fog. What terrifying skulls! Let's go! Lin Feng didn't dare stay. The skulls would quickly reach him. If he didn't leave now, he wouldn't be able to. Swoosh! Lin Feng quickly flew away. Damn it, I have to kill him. Wu Yangtian's expression became ferocious. That little boy is dead. Li Doxi smiled ferociously and waved his hand. Primeval Demon Master, Primeval Demon Master. The 12 skulls quickly chased after Lin Feng. They were as fast as lightning. Chapter 223. Elderly, are the 12 skulls reliable? That kid won't get away, right? Asked Wu Yangtian worriedly. Said Li Doxi confidently. The 12 skulls are the clones I successfully refined when I became a martial king. They've been refined for 60 years. Even an ordinary martial king would be killed if surrounded by them, let alone a little general. All right, we must kill him, said Wu Yangtian ferociously. Lin Feng flapped his golden wings and flew towards Fallen Moon City. However, the 12 skulls were extremely fast. They quickly caught up with him. They're so fast, I'm in trouble. Lin Feng's face turned ugly when he saw the 12 skulls chasing after him. Those skulls were too terrifying. Lin Feng had seen the skulls attack a moment ago. They had destroyed mountains in an instant. How terrifying was that? It was shocking. Lin Feng quickly flew away, but the 12 skulls didn't give up. Lin Feng couldn't shake them off. Primeval Demon Lord, Primeval Demon Lord. The skulls kept roaring, calling the Primeval Demon Lord. Lin Feng didn't know why they were calling the Primeval Demon Lord. According to what he knew, the Primeval Demon Lord was a holy emperor from the immemorial era. Could it be that the skulls could communicate with the Primeval Demon Lord and borrow his strength? The skulls at the front quickly chased after Lin Feng. They opened their bloody mouths and tried to swallow him. Lin Feng raised his black dragon sword and slashed at the skulls. Slash! The black dragon sword's power was astonishing. It cut the skulls in half. However, something that made people's hair stand on end happened. They saw that the skull that was split in half actually gathered together again, and it was as good as new. Shit, what kind of ability is that? Lin Feng was startled. The skulls had been cut in half, but they had merged back together. That ability was monstrous. How were they supposed to fight? It was impossible to kill these skeletons. Puny human brat, you've hurt me. I'm going to eat you. The skull roared and quickly chased after Lin Feng. Whoosh! The skull opened its mouth and spat out black fog that filled the sky. Lin Feng had seen that the black fog spewed out by the skulls could instantly crush a mountain range. He knew how powerful the black fog was. He sped up, wanting to shake off the skulls. However, the skulls were fast enough that he couldn't shake them off. The black fog that the skulls spat out was very aggressive. Dodging it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Therefore, Lin Feng's expression was very ugly. But Lin Feng didn't panic. While facing the black smoke coming from the skull, Lin Feng released his absorbing spirit, which transformed into a black hole and absorbed the black smoke. Whoosh whoosh! At this moment, the rest of the skulls quickly flew out. Jiji Jiji. These skulls let out eerie cries that made one's hair stand on end. It seems like you can't deal with this brat alone, said one of the skulls. My God, do these skulls have intelligence? Lin Feng felt his scalp go numb. Everything he had seen today was too strange. If he told others that he had seen 12 talking skulls, they would probably think he was crazy. However, that was the truth. These skulls were extremely strange. Not only did they have powerful attacks, but they also had their own consciousness. Lin Feng couldn't help but admire the methods of the demonic path. They were really strange. The skull that had attacked Lin Feng first sneered and said, "Dealing with a human general is just an ant. I was just careless." Enough. Don't find excuses for your failure. Master is waiting for us to return. Don't waste any more time. Everyone attack together, said another skull. The green light in the eyes of the first skull flickered rapidly, as if it was angry. However, it didn't do anything because Lee Doxy was indeed waiting for them to return. Moreover, this place wasn't far from Fallen Moon City. They had to quickly get rid of Lin Feng. If they took too long, it wouldn't be good if they alerted the strong cultivators of the human race. Hoo, the 12 skulls all opened their mouths and spat out demonic chi towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng had used his devouring martial spirit to devour the demonic chi of one of the skulls, and he already felt that he couldn't endure it. Now, there were 12 skulls attacking him together. Lin Feng didn't dare to block them. He quickly flew away, but it wasn't easy to escape from the 12 skulls. The 12 skulls spat out demonic chi and swept towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng was directly swept away. Wow. Even with Lin Feng's strong physical body, he couldn't help but spit out blood. I'll eat you, I'll eat you. The 12 skulls suddenly gathered together and turned into a gigantic skull. That gigantic skull quickly flew towards Lin Feng and opened its mouth. It wanted to swallow him whole. Oh no! Lin Feng's face suddenly changed. He wanted to dodge, but he couldn't. He pulled a long face. Was he really going to die at the hands of that skull? At that critical moment, Lin Feng's dantian suddenly emitted a terrifying energy. Then demonic lights dashed to the sky, and the mysterious demonic pearl flew out. The demonic pearl, Lin Feng was shocked. He hadn't thought that the demonic pearl would fly out at a time like this. The demonic pearl was very strange. When Lin Feng had swallowed the fire Qilin's godly power, a low voice had come from the demonic pearl, as if there was a terrifying expert inside the pearl. However, when Lin Feng had searched the pearl, he hadn't found anything. When Lin Feng had encountered the rock golem, he had wanted to use the demonic pearl to deal with it, but it hadn't reacted. This meant that the demonic pearl wasn't under Lin Feng's control. Now, the strange demonic pearl had flown out again. What's this? What a terrifying demonic chi. The gigantic skull screamed in fear. Swish! A beam of demonic light shot out from the demonic pearl. The demonic light bombarded the skull. Crack! Crack! The skull shattered. The skull turned into the purest form of energy. The demonic pearl emitted a terrifying devouring power, just like when it had devoured the fire Qilin's godly power. After the skull exploded, the demonic pearl devoured the boundless energy. Chapter 224. Wah! Lee Doxy suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. His face was pale, and he half knelt on the ground, panting heavily. Wu Yangtian was shocked when he saw this. He quickly asked, "Elderly, what's wrong?" "My 12 clones are dead." Lee Doxy's eyes were filled with endless hatred and killing intent. He had spent a lot of effort to raise his 12 clones. But now, all of them had been killed. This was a huge blow to Lee Doxy's confidence. After losing his 12 clones, Lee Doxy's strength had greatly decreased, and now he had suffered from a backlash and sustained serious injuries. What? My 12 clones were killed. Was it that kid who killed them? I'm done for. I've been exposed. Wu Yangtian's face turned pale. Lee Doxy said coldly, "Why are you panicking? It's so dark. It's hard to say if that kid saw us clearly. Besides, so what if he saw us? Who would believe him without any evidence? My 12 avatars were destroyed. It definitely wasn't that brat's doing. He might have a powerful treasure on him. Go back to the city and search for him. Once you find him, kill him without mercy." Wu Yangtian calmed down and said, "I didn't see his face clearly. I only remember a rough figure. It'll be difficult to find him. Flying secret techniques aren't something that just anyone can use. Focus on the young masters with extraordinary backgrounds." Lee Doxy said, "All right." Wu Yangtian nodded. Let's play it by ear. Li Doxi flew away after saying that. He wanted nothing more than to cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces. However, he didn't dare to stay here for too long. Perhaps some experts from Sun Moon City had secretly come to Fallen Moon City. If they saw him, he would definitely die. Wu Yangtian didn't stop either. He quickly flew in the direction of Fallen Moon City. Whoosh! After devouring the skull, the demonic orb entered Lin Feng's body again. Lin Feng felt helpless. This demonic orb was too strange. Moreover, it wasn't under his control and had been hiding in his dantian. Was it a blessing or a curse? But judging from the current situation, it wasn't a curse. Lin Feng didn't stop flying in the direction of Fallen Moon City. Fallen Moon City was an ancient border city that had been built for more than 5,000 years. It was extremely sturdy and had withstood the Beastmen Empire's invasion many times. That night, Lin Feng entered Fallen Moon City. However, Fallen Moon City was rather deserted. Perhaps because they felt the smoke of war, many people left Fallen Moon City. After entering Fallen Moon City, Lin Li Doxi, of course, of the Fallen Moon of the Fallen Moon cities of the Fallen Moon City, of the Fallen Moon City of Fallen of the Fallen of the Fallen of the of Fallen of Fallen of them. I wonder who the person who colluded with the demonic cultivator is. Lin Feng frowned. Soon, they arrived at the City Lord Mansion. Brat, this is the Castellan Manor. Do not barge in. Leave, or you'll be flogged 30 times. A guard blocked Lin Feng's path. Lin Feng replied, Azure Dragon Institute Lin Feng, please report my name. Ah, Azure Dragon Institute's Lin Feng? You're that Lin Feng, Lin Gongzi, who killed the Beastmen Empire's blood-robed beast tamer. Hearing Lin Feng's self-introduction, more than a dozen guards exclaimed in shock. It turned out that when Lin Feng killed the blood-robed beast tamer, he was seen by someone. The news of the blood-robed beast tamer's death soon spread to Fallen Moon City. Long Shiyu's group arrived at Fallen Moon City and reported this matter to the Castellan. According to them, Captain Lin Feng had gone alone to hunt down the blood-robed beast tamer. According to the recollections of those who witnessed the battle, the one who killed the blood-robed beast tamer was indeed a 16 to 17-year-old boy. Connecting the dots, wasn't the one who killed the blood-robed beast tamer Lin Feng? This matter caused a great uproar in the Fallen Moon City. 20 years ago, in the Great War between the Beastmen Empire and True Martial Country, it was this blood-robed beast tamer who gathered the Fierce Beast Army. That Fierce Beast Army directly annihilated the True Martial Country's 80,000-strong army. This was an extremely heavy loss. Therefore, the True Martial Country's people, especially the generals and soldiers stationed in the Northwest, wished they could cut the blood-robed beast tamer into 1,000 pieces. Because 20 years ago, those who died were their friends and family. But the blood-robed beast tamer remained unpunished. Some time ago, news had reached Fallen Moon City, saying that the Beastmen Empire had once again invited the blood-robed beast tamer to participate in this great war. This matter caused a great panic in the True Martial Country's Northwest Crimson Flame Legion, one of the True Martial Country's 5 great legions stationed 30 li outside of Fallen Moon City, and Fallen Moon City. Many of the surviving soldiers had become generals by now, but they still couldn't forget the tragic battle 20 years ago. In the sky, countless flying beasts, and on the ground, countless fierce beasts charged toward the True Martial Country's army. That battle was truly too tragic. At first, everyone was worried that the battle between the True Martial Country and the Beastmen Empire would be the same as 20 years ago. The True Martial Country's army was slaughtered and crushed by the Fierce Beast army. But who would have thought that at this time, News would spread that the Azure Dragon Institute's Captain Lin Feng, who had led a team of reinforcements to Fallen Moon City, had chased after the blood-robed beast tamer alone for more than 100 li, killing several hundred fierce beasts and beastmen soldiers, including the blood-robed beast tamer. When this news reached the true martial country, it caused an uproar. Countless soldiers of the Crimson Flame Legion roared toward the sky, as if they were consoling the souls of their comrades who had died 20 years ago. Some of the surviving veterans knelt on the ground, sobbing. Many of them were muttering, "Brother, someone has finally avenged you." Or, "Big brother, the blood-robed beast tamer is dead. Your revenge has finally been avenged." Of course, other than avenging the 80,000 true martial country soldiers who had died 20 years ago, this time Lin Feng had killed the blood-robed beast tamer. The Beastmen Empire would no longer be able to form an army of fierce beasts. If it was a battle between legions, the true martial country wasn't afraid of the Beastmen Empire. The blood-robed beast tamer's death had saved at least 70 to 80,000 true martial country soldiers. The true martial country's army's morale was greatly boosted. On the other hand, the Fallen Moon City's side was also in an uproar. The blood-robed beast tamer's death was simply too satisfying. Not to mention, this was a crucial moment in the battle between the true martial country and the Beastmen Empire. Chapter 2:25. Lin Feng had just arrived at Fallen Moon City, so he had no idea that the news of him killing the crimson-robed beast tamer had already spread throughout the city. Lin Feng was a little surprised as he looked at these guards, asking, "Do you know me?" The guard captain quickly answered, of course, we know you." Lin Gongzi chased after the crimson-robed beast tamer, and the others for 100 li, killing several hundred fierce beasts and beastmen soldiers. In the end, even the crimson-robed beast tamer was killed by Lin Gongzi. This news has spread far and wide. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. He didn't expect this matter to be known by everyone. Lin Feng said, "It's nothing, it's what I should do." The guard captain instantly shed tears, saying, "Young noble doesn't know many of our Northwest soldiers' relatives died in that battle 20 years ago. Who knows how many people hate the crimson-robed beast tamer to the bone. Even my father and 2 uncles died tragically in that battle 20 years ago. Young noble killed the crimson-robed beast tamer and took revenge for us. Please accept this humble one's respect." Lin Feng quickly supported the guard captain, saying, "Don't do this. Everyone is responsible for the country's rise and fall. I believe that no matter who it is, as long as they have the ability, they would do it." "Oh, right. Have our Azure Dragon Institute's students arrived at the Castellan Manor?" "They have been here for many days, waiting for young noble's arrival. Quick, go in and inform the Castellan and the Azure Dragon Institute students." The guard captain pointed at 2 guards. "Yes." Receiving the order, the 2 guards quickly went in to report. Not long after, a large group of people ran out from the Castellan Manor. These were the Azure Dragon Institute's people. "Captain, you're finally back." Long Shiyu, Wu Ming, Yan Gan, and the rest ran over excitedly. Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement, and when they looked at Lin Feng, their gazes were filled with worship. Who was it, almost single-handedly leading everyone to retreat from the siege of the silver-eyed blood wolves and beastmen soldiers? It was Lin Feng. Who was it? Didn't he pay a great price, using his own blood as a sacrifice, casting a secret technique to strengthen everyone's armor, allowing them to survive that tragic battle? It was Lin Feng. Who was it? Disregarding personal danger, chasing after the silver-eyed blood wolves and beastmen soldiers alone for 100 li, killing hundreds of them? It was Lin Feng. Who was it? Fighting a bloody battle and killing the blood-robed beast tamer. who had gathered an army of ferocious beasts to kill 80,000 men of the Zhen Wu country 20 years ago, or Lin Feng. No matter what it was, it could be considered a miracle, but Lin Feng was the one who had done it. The Azure Dragon Institute's disciples, and Huang Xiaolong's the Dragon Institute, the Heavens and Earth Dragon sect was Lin Feng's. Huang Xiaolong, Huang, Heart Huang, Huang's Huang, and Huang. They still remembered when Lin Feng had joined Jialan University. He had been young and inexperienced. Lin Feng had already become a character that they had to look up to. Lin Feng gave Long Shiyu and the others a bear hug, asking with a smile, "How's everyone's recovery?" "Fully recovered. We're just waiting to show off our skills," Wu Ming said with a smile. The Castellan has arrived. Right at this time, a loud voice sounded, causing everyone to step aside to make way. Lin Feng looked over and saw the Castellan. What surprised Lin Feng the most was that the Castellan was actually a woman. Moreover, it was a beautiful woman. This woman was tall and slender, wearing chainmail. Her hair was tied up in a ponytail, and a sword hung at her waist. Her exquisite face bore some resemblance to Huang Linger's. Before arriving, Lin Feng had already learned some information about Fallen Moon City. The Castellan of Fallen Moon City was called Huang Shilan. She was the only daughter of the Northwestern Grand Marshal, Huang Tianfeng's eldest son. Huang Lei, Huang Linger's older sister. "Lin Feng, it's great that you're back." After seeing Lin Feng, Huang Linger ran overexcitedly. "Is this Lin Feng or Lin Gongzi? I'm Huang Shilan, the Castellan of Fallen Moon City. I've heard a lot about Lin Gongzi." Although Huang Shilan had a beautiful appearance, her way of doing things was neat and tidy, and she was loved by the locals. Lin Feng said, "The Castellan thinks too highly of me. I'm really ashamed." "Sister, Lin Feng, there's no need to be so polite. Let's go back and chat. I'm sure everyone has a lot to ask Lin Feng," Huang Linger said. "All right, Lin Gongzi, please." Huang Shilan gestured for him to enter. Lin Feng cupped his fists and walked into the Castellan's mansion. With Huang Shilan, 10 or so student representatives entered the hall, as well as some higher-ups of Fallen Moon City. Everyone was interested in what had happened that day, so Lin Feng gave them a simple explanation. After chatting for a while, Huang Shilan said, "I'm sure that Lin Gongzi is very tired. The guest rooms have been prepared. Lin Gongzi can go and rest first. Tomorrow night, people from the Red Flame Army will come as well. At that time, we'll welcome Lin Gongzi together." Lin Feng smiled and said, "Then I'll take my leave." The next day, a banquet was held in the Castellan's mansion to welcome Lin Feng. The Red Flame Army's great general, Zhang Kuei, personally came. Zhang Kuei looked to be in his 50s, and he had been the commander of the Red Flame Army for 20 years. He had personally witnessed the scene of the Red Flame Army being trampled by countless beasts, and he had personally seen countless of his old subordinates die in front of his eyes. After seeing Lin Feng, he bowed deeply to Lin Feng. Lin Feng naturally did not dare to accept it, and he hurriedly helped Zhang Kuei up and said, "Great General, you're too kind." Zhang Kuei said, "This bow is for the 80,000 men who died tragically at the hands of the beasts 20 years ago." Lin Feng understood Zhang Kuei's feelings and said, "Those martyrs can finally rest in peace." "That's right. They can finally rest in peace." Zhang Kuei sighed. Lin Feng's welcoming banquet was very lively. There were high-ranking officers of the Red Flame Army, representatives of Fallen Moon Cities, large families, students of the Azure Dragon Institute, and Fallen Moon City's upper echelons. Everyone wanted to see Lin Feng's glory. Lin Feng's gaze fell on a cultivator among the Fallen Moon City's upper echelons. His eyebrows raised slightly. That day, Although the sky was dark, Lin Feng was hiding in the dark. In fact, he had clearly seen who was colluding with the Devil Dao expert. It was none other than the white-robed man among the Fallen Moon City's upper echelons. This person seemed to be called Wu Yangtian. Ling, who's sitting next to your sister? Lin Feng asked. Huang Ling, said, that's Vice City Lord Wu Yangtian. It really is him. A sharp light flashed in Lin Feng's eyes. Wu Yangtian seemed to have sensed something and looked at Lin Feng suspiciously. Lin Feng subtly smiled at Wu Yangtian and even raised his wine cup, draining it in one gulp. Wu Yangtian also smiled, but there was a trace of suspicion in his eyes when he looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's sudden arrival and the person who had eavesdropped on his conversation with Li Doxi had disappeared without a trace. Obviously, Wu Yangtian suspected Lin Feng. Chapter 226. After the banquet ended, everyone began to disperse. While Lin Feng was chatting with Huang Shilan, he smiled and said, I have something that I need to discuss with City Lord Huang. Is there a quiet place for us to talk? What is it? Why do you need to talk alone? Huang Linger frowned slightly. She didn't seem to like the idea of Lin Feng being alone with her sister. Huang Lei said, Linger, the captain naturally has something important to say. Don't cause trouble. Humph! Huang Linger glared at Huang Lei. Beside them, Wu Yangtian also looked at Lin Feng, his eyes flickering with coldness. He was becoming more and more suspicious of Lin Feng. All right, come with me. Huang Shilan nodded and left with Lin Feng. Huang Shilan brought Lin Feng to a guest room and smiled. Lin Gongzi, what important things do you have to say to me? Lin Feng smiled and said, I have a good relationship with Huang Lei and Linger. City Lord Huang, please don't call me Lin Gongzi. It sounds very awkward. Just call me Lin Feng. Huang Shilan smiled and said, then don't call me City Lord Huang. How about you call me Big Sis Shilan? How could I not obey? Lin Feng smiled. Huang Shilan said, Lin Feng, what you want to talk to me about in private should be very important, right? Huang Shilan looked at Lin Feng with a burning gaze. Huang Shilan actually admired Lin Feng very much. Huang Shilan had shown excellent cultivation talent since she was young. At the age of 10, she had followed her father and grandfather to war all over the world. She had stayed in the army for 12 years, so she was someone who had experienced countless life and death situations. She worshipped heroes. Old Marshal Huang had always wanted to arrange a marriage for Huang Shilan, but she had always rejected him. That was because she didn't like those people. Until he heard about Lin Feng. Alone, he chased after hundreds of ferocious beasts and beastmen soldiers for hundreds of miles. He fought a bloody battle and killed the blood-robed beast tamer. Huang Shilan also wanted to know such a heroic figure. When Huang Shilan saw Lin Feng, she saw that he was so handsome, confident, and at ease. He was also a young hero. Huang Shilan's heart was pounding. However, after so many years, she had experienced a lot of things, so she would not easily express her feelings. What Lin Feng wanted to talk about was naturally the collusion between Wu Yangtian and a demonic cultivator. But Lin Feng had no evidence, and Wu Yangtian was the deputy city lord of Fallen Moon City. During the war 20 years ago, Wu Yangtian's father was the highest-ranking general of Zhenwu country who had sacrificed himself. Back then, Wu Yangtian's father was the first general under the Northwest Marshal and was highly regarded. During the chaos of the battle, he had blocked an arrow for old Marshal Huang and died during the breakout. Therefore, old Marshal Huang had raised Wu Yangtian like his own grandson. With the deep relationship between the Huang family and the Wu family, Lin Feng had no evidence to prove that Wu Yangtian was colluding with a demonic cultivator. Even if he had evidence, he would have to be very careful. If he wasn't careful, he would invite trouble to himself. Lin Feng deliberated for a moment before saying, "When I came here, I saw a demonic cultivator in the mountains outside the city." A demonic cultivator? Huang Shilan was shocked. She then said angrily, "A demonic cultivator is actually so arrogant as to infiltrate Fallen Moon City?" This time, the Beastman Empire had unilaterally broken the ceasefire agreement with Shenwu country 20 years ago because of the demonic cultivator's interference. Huang Shilan naturally hated the demonic cultivator's actions. Lin Feng said, "A demonic cultivator naturally wouldn't take the risk to infiltrate Fallen Moon City for no reason. I saw someone in Fallen Moon City who was secretly in contact with a demonic cultivator." What? There's such a thing? Who dares to secretly collude with a demonic cultivator? Huang Shilan's eyes immediately revealed a cold-killing intent. This woman was definitely the kind of person who would kill without hesitation. 12 years of military life had made her resolute and decisive, unlike ordinary women who were weak and delicate. Lin Feng thought, who else could it be? It's the Vice City Lord Wu Yangtian. Of course, he wouldn't say this out loud. Lin Feng said, "The night was dark, so I didn't see clearly. However, I think it should be someone with some status. Otherwise, a demonic cultivator wouldn't risk coming to Fallen Moon City for a nobody." Huang Shilan nodded and said, "How hateful. Someone actually colluded with a demonic cultivator. These demonic cultivators secretly manipulated the Beastman Empire to attack Shenwu country. Colluding with a demonic cultivator is a crime of treason. No matter who it is, as long as I find out who it is, I will definitely put them to death," said Lin Feng. "You have to be extremely careful with some military secrets. You also have to be extremely careful when dealing with letters. Don't let the spy take advantage of any loopholes. I have the feeling that the spy will soon reveal himself. I will send people to keep an eye on him. If this spy makes any movements, we will definitely notice." Huang Shilan said. Lin Feng nodded. He had already done everything he could. Huang Shilan was able to become the city lord of Fallen Moon City at such a young age. Obviously, it wasn't just because of her ancestors. She was also very strong. Since Huang Shilan had already strengthened her vigilance, it wouldn't be easy to hide anything from Huang Shilan if Wu Yangtian really did make any movements. If Huang Shilan really had something on Wu Yangtian, with Huang Shilan's abhorrent personality, even if Wu Yangtian had a very deep relationship with the Huang family, Huang Shilan wouldn't be merciful. "Since I've already told you everything, I won't disturb you any longer. Lin Feng will take his leave." Lin Feng cupped his fists. Huang Shilan said, "I'll see you out." Suddenly, Huang Shilan's body slightly swayed, as if she was about to fall to the ground. Her face became extremely pale. Lin Feng hastily supported Huang Shilan. On that day, Huang Shilan wasn't wearing any armor. She was wearing a snow-white dress. She looked extremely beautiful. Lin Feng put his arm around Huang Shilan's waist and pressed his body against hers. He could smell the delicate fragrance of Huang Shilan's body. "How cold? Why is your body so cold?" Lin Feng wasn't distracted because he had discovered that Huang Shilan's body was extremely cold. She was as cold as ice. "Quick, help me take out a pill." Huang Shilan's face was extremely pale. She weakly took out a porcelain bottle. "There's a raging flame pill inside. It can help suppress the cold poison in my body," said Huang Shilan weakly. She leaned her head against Lin Feng's neck. Even though Lin Feng hadn't formally studied medicine with the fire Qilin, he had some understanding of some pills. The intense flame pill was a type of extremely hot yang pill. If a person took too many of those pills, their meridians would be severely damaged, and they could even become a cripple. Obviously, Huang Shirlan had been using the intense flame pill to suppress the cold poison in her body. However, the intense flame pill wasn't able to remove the cold poison. On the contrary, it was damaging her meridians. Each time the intense flame pill broke through the suppression of the cold poison, it would erupt again, and it would be even more terrifying than before. Chapter 2:27. How long have you been consuming this raging flame pill? Lin Feng asked. 3 years. Huang Shirlan replied, weakly. It was no wonder why Huang Shirlan was so weak. She had been consuming the raging flame pill for 3 years. It was obvious that the raging flame pill had damaged her body greatly. Lin Feng said, "Let me take a look at your injuries." Huang Shirlan nodded weakly in Lin Feng's arms. Lin Feng's divine sense entered Huang Shirlan's body and discovered that her body was filled with cold qi, especially in the depths of her dantian. There was a ball of cold qi entrenched there. It was the cold poison in her body. Because she had been consuming the raging flame pill for too long, her meridians had been damaged. Once her meridians ruptured, she would become a cripple. Does anyone else know about this? Lin Feng asked. Huang Shirlan shook her head and murmured, 3 years ago, there was a supreme demon ice python wreaking havoc. I went with my father to exterminate it, but we suffered heavy losses in that battle. My father died, tragically, and I was poisoned. My father's death was a huge blow to my grandfather, so I retired from the army. At first, the cold poison wasn't that serious, and I was able to suppress it, but later, it grew stronger and stronger until I couldn't suppress it anymore, so I had to consume the raging flame pill to suppress it. Why didn't you tell Marshal Huang about this? Lin Feng asked. Grandfather has been busy with the war in the Northwest every day, and he's already exhausted. How can I make him worry? Huang Shirlan shook her head. Lin Feng suddenly felt sorry for Huang Shirlan. She looked valiant and had a strong personality. However, she was still a woman. She had witnessed her father's tragic death in front of her eyes, and it had been a huge blow to her. She had been poisoned by the cold poison, but she had chosen to bear it alone so that her grandfather wouldn't worry. A woman like her was truly heartbreaking. Huang Shirlan trembled and said painfully, "Quick, give me the raging flame pill. I can't hold on any longer." Lin Feng asked, "Do you trust me?" Huang Shirlan endured the pain and raised her head. She looked at the slightly immature but handsome face and the determined gaze in his eyes. Huang Shirlan nodded. She didn't know why she chose to believe in this young man whom she had only met twice. However, deep in her heart, there was a voice telling her that she trusted him. Don't take these intense flame pills. I'll help you expel the fire poison. We need to find a quiet place where we can't be disturbed. Lin Feng said. Expelling the cold poison? Huang Shirlan looked at Lin Feng in disbelief. She was really shocked. Could this kind of terrifying cold poison really be removed? Huang Shirlan knew that it was almost impossible, but deep in her heart, she believed in Lin Feng without a doubt. She blushed and said, "If you leave through the back door of the living room, you'll reach my courtyard." Lin Feng nodded and picked up the weak Huang Shirlan. Huang Shirlan's face was so red that it seemed as if blood would drip from it. She had never had such contact with a man before. She could even smell Lin Feng's manly scent, which made her feel as if her heart was about to jump out of her chest. Lin Feng carried Huang Shirlan into her room. This made Huang Shirlan even more embarrassed. Even her second brother, Huang Lei, had never entered her room before, but Lin Feng was the first man to enter. Lin Feng placed Huang Shirlan on the bed and said, "Sorry for offending you later." Huang Shirlan nodded and closed her eyes. She didn't dare to look at Lin Feng. Lin Feng took a deep breath and slowly adjusted his breathing. He planned to use the heavenly flame to expel the cold poison in Huang Shirlan's body. Cold poison was extremely cold. As for the heavenly flame, it was extremely hot. The heavenly flame just happened to be able to restrain the cold poison. The heavenly flame was hidden in Lin Feng's palm. The temperature of Lin Feng's palm became extremely hot. His hand began to wander around Huang Shirlan's body. This was also why Lin Feng said, "Sorry for offending you later," because the cold poison had already invaded Huang Shirlan's limbs and bones. Therefore, Lin Feng wanted to expel the cold poison hidden in Huang Shirlan's body one by one. Naturally, there would be physical contact. Huang Shirlan bit her red lips and let Lin Feng's warm hand caress every part of her body. Lin Feng didn't have any evil thoughts. He just wanted to expel the cold poison in Huang Shirlan's body. Wherever the giant hand passed, the cold poison would be dispelled. As the cold poison was gradually expelled, Huang Shirlan's pale face also became rosy. However, when Lin Feng's hand touched some sensitive parts of her body, Huang Shirlan's delicate body would slightly tremble. She was so shy that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. Even she was embarrassed to touch those places. Now, she was being touched by a man. For the Tianmu continent, where chastity was highly valued, this was an unimaginable thing. However, Huang Shirlan didn't know why she didn't seem to dislike Lin Feng treating her like this, and even touching her pure body. After spending more than 4 hours, the cold poison in Huang Shirlan's body was gradually expelled by Lin Feng. However, the cold poison in the depths of her dantian was still stubborn. The cold poison in the depths of her dantian was the most terrifying. If it wasn't removed, the cold poison in Huang Shirlan's body would continue to erupt. Lin Feng let Huang Shirlan sit cross-legged while he sat beside her. Lin Feng's right hand was placed on Huang Shirlan's lower abdomen. He could even feel the soft, jade-like skin through a thin layer of clothes. Lin Feng didn't have time to feel this. He took a deep breath, and under the control of Lin Feng, the heavenly flame entered Huang Shirlan's dantian from her lower abdomen. The raging heavenly flame immediately enveloped the cold poison source. "King of cold poison! King of cold poison!" Suddenly, the cold poison source emitted a deep roar. The cold poison was fiercely resisting. The cold poison source wanted to turn into a ferocious beast and extinguish the heavenly flame. Lin Feng was astonished. No wonder the cold poison is so powerful. It's already formed a cold poison spirit. Luckily, I discovered it early. If I had delayed any longer, this beautiful woman would have died. After a short moment of astonishment, Lin Feng's face became ice cold. The cold poison was indeed powerful, but it couldn't compare to the heavenly flame. Heavenly flame burns the heavens. Refine all things. The heavenly flame burned furiously. No, don't. The Frost Poison King let out a cry of terror because it found that its origin power was being rapidly refined. But no matter how hard it tried, it couldn't resist the heavenly flame. "I can't accept this," roared the Cold Poison King in despair. But in the end, it was completely engulfed by the heavenly flame. After 8 hours, the cold poison in Huang Shirlan's body was completely removed. Huang Shirlan was soaked with sweat. Her body was weak, and she collapsed in Lin Feng's arms. Chapter 228. Looking at her beautiful face, Lin Feng suddenly felt a little restless. Only when he looked at Huang Shirlan's face up close did he realize how perfect she was. especially at that moment, because Huang Shilan's body was soaked in cold qi. Her body was sticking to Lin Feng's flawless body. Lin Feng could see her exquisite body. It was so perfect that it could make his blood boil. However, Lin Feng understood that a gentleman would not take advantage of a person's difficulties. Naturally, he would not take advantage of Huang Shilan at this time, even if he had the chance. "Sister Shilan, how do you feel?" Lin Feng asked softly. Huang Shilan slowly opened her eyes and sat up with difficulty. "I feel much better." "Lin Feng, thank you very much." At that moment, Huang Shilan suddenly realized that her body was soaked. Her perfect figure was exposed in front of Lin Feng's eyes, especially her huge breasts, which were almost sticking to her clothes. It was very tempting. Huang Shilan cried out in surprise and quickly covered her breasts with her hands. However, when she thought about how Lin Feng had touched her breasts before, her face turned so red that it could bleed. "Sister Shilan, you should be fine after resting for a few days. It's getting late, so I'll go back first." Lin Feng said. Huang Shilan blushed and said, "You should go back and rest too." "Okay." Lin Feng nodded and walked out, then helped Huang Shilan close the door. After Lin Feng left, Huang Shilan lay on the bed and covered her face with the blanket. She felt that her face was burning hot, especially when she thought about how Lin Feng had touched her. Not only was she not angry, but she even seemed to be a little happy. At this moment, how was Huang Shilan still the dignified city lord of Fallen Moon City? She was completely acting like a little girl. The sound of the night watch came from outside. It sounded 4 times in a row, so it was obviously the 4th night watch. Lin Feng took a deep breath. It was already late at night, and there was no one around. Lin Feng walked towards his residence. When he passed by a tree-lined path, he suddenly felt a chill envelop him. "Who is it? Come out." He looked coldly at a corner. "Brother Lin's senses are really powerful. No wonder you were able to kill the blood-robed beast tamer." A voice was heard. Following that, a man walked out. It was none other than Wu Yangtian. Lin Feng did not expect Wu Yangtian to stop him in the middle of the night. What was he trying to do? Was this person suspecting him? "You want to silence me?" However, this was the city lord manner. As long as he shouted, he would be able to attract the attention of the guards. Most likely, Wu Yangtian wouldn't dare to act rashly. Thinking up to this point, Lin Feng's lips curled into a faint smile as he said, "So it's Vice City Lord Wu. Instead of sleeping, you came here to enjoy the scenery?" The corner of Wu Yangtian's mouth twitched violently when he heard Lin Feng's teasing words. His expression turned gloomy. As Lin Feng thought, Wu Yangtian suspected Lin Feng. However, Wu Yangtian didn't dare to openly make a move in the city lord manner. Of course, even though he suspected Lin Feng, Wu Yangtian couldn't be sure that the person who saw him talking to Li Doxi was Lin Feng. Thus, Wu Yangtian wanted to test Lin Feng. "Of course, I'm not here to enjoy the scenery. I have a few words to say to Brother Lin." Wu Yangtian said. "Oh, what is it?" Lin Feng asked in astonishment. "You better stay away from Shilan. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite," Wu Yangtian said coldly. He had been rather friendly just a moment ago, but now he had an icy expression. His attitude changed faster than flipping a book. "Why do you say that?" Lin Feng narrowed his eyes and looked at Wu Yangtian. He naturally didn't believe that Wu Yangtian had come looking for him. Because of this guy was colluding with the demonic path and wanted to destroy the entire Zhenwu country. Why would he care about Jiang Shilan? How ridiculous. This guy was obviously using Jiang Shilan as an excuse to test him. Wu Yangtian said, "The Wu family and the Huang family have been friends for generations. Shilan and I were childhood sweethearts and grew up together. Old Marshal Huang has the intention to betroth Shirlan to me. Can you talk to Shirlan for 4 to 5 hours? It's best if you don't come into contact with Shirlan too often. If you anger me, you won't have a good ending. Lin Feng said indifferently, so that's what you're talking about. I find it quite funny. You don't seem to have anything to do with Sister Shirlan, yet you're here to nag at me. Are you bored out of your mind? Can I take this as a provocation? Wu Yangtian looked coldly at Lin Feng. I'm just stating a fact. As for Sister Shirlan, I'm sure she's not interested in you at all. You should give up on her. Lin Feng curled his lips. Brat, do you really think you're some big shot? How dare you speak to me in such a tone? If I don't teach you a lesson today, do you really think you can act so impudently in front of me? Wu Yangtian sneered and took a step forward, throwing a punch at Lin Feng. Boom! A terrifying aura erupted. Lin Feng was shocked. Wu Yangtian was very powerful. He was probably even stronger than the black-robed poison master. Wu Yangtian, what are you doing? At that moment, a cold shout was heard. Huang Shirlan, who had just changed her clothes, heard the commotion outside and came out. She saw Wu Yangtian blocking Lin Feng's path and was about to attack Lin Feng. Her pretty face turned unsightly. Although the Wu clan and the Huang clan were old friends, Huang Shirlan didn't have a good impression of Wu Yangtian. She always felt that Wu Yangtian was a very gloomy person. He would always hide his feelings in his heart. Shirlan. Wu Yangtian frowned when he saw Huang Shirlan and stopped his attack. What's going on? In the distance, a group of patrolling soldiers rushed over. They had obviously noticed the commotion. City Lord, the leader of the guards hastily saluted. It's nothing. You can leave now. Huang Shirlan waved her hand. Yes, the leader of the guards left with his men. Shirlan, don't be fooled by that brat's flowery words, said Wu Yangtian. Huang Shirlan's face turned cold. Huang Shirlan's pretty face turned cold as she said coldly, Vice City Lord Wu, aren't you overstepping your boundaries? It's already late at night. Why hasn't Vice City Lord Wu left yet? Humph. Wu Yangtian flicked his sleeves and left. Lin Feng didn't stay for long either. He chatted with Huang Shirlan for a while before leaving. Damn it! I wanted to find out if that brat Lin Feng was the one who eavesdropped on my conversation with Li Doxy that day. Huang Shirlan actually ruined it. Bitch, just you wait. When the city falls, I'll make you my slave. I'll F***CK you fiercely. Let's see if you can still act all high and mighty then. Wu Yangtian's eyes were filled with malice. Chapter 229. The situation at the Northwest Frontier Fortress was getting more and more tense. The Beastman Empire's army was gathering, although they had lost the Crimson Robe Beast Tamer, which was equivalent to losing a powerful beast army. The Beastman Empire had no intention of retreating. On the contrary, they continued to send reinforcements. The situation had reached a point where there was no room for delay. A war could break out at any moment. On the fallen Moon City's side, everyone was in a state of panic. Once the war broke out, there would be heavy casualties. Rumor has it that the Beastman Empire has gathered an army of 300,000. Clearly they came prepared. Long Shi reported after he returned from scouting outside. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Such a large army. It seemed like the Beastman Empire was about to make a big move. Many of the Azure Dragon Institute students have already returned. Obviously, they sense the danger and are unwilling to stay here and risk their lives. Xianyuan Zhan said solemnly, this time, the Azure Dragon Institute had sent more than 50 teams to the Northwest Frontier Fortress to support the war between the true martial country and the Beastman Empire. The number of people varied, but when added together, there were more than 3,000 people. Of course, all of them were powerful, but no matter how strong they were destined to be cannon fodder when facing an army of several 100,000. Roughly, how many people are left? Lin Feng asked with a slight frown on his face. About a dozen teams, about 1,000 people. Long Shiyu answered. There were still some students who wanted to stay and participate in this war. Maybe they wanted to fight for a better future, or maybe they really wanted to contribute to the country. Regardless of the reason, the Azure Dragon Institute's students who chose to stay without hesitation were worthy of respect. Go meet those team leaders. I plan to have a talk with them. Lin Feng said. These Azure Dragon Institute's students were very powerful, far stronger than the regular soldiers. Although there were only 1,000 of them, if they were led well, they could be a force to be reckoned with. All right, I'll go now. Long Shiyu nodded. When the captains heard that Lin Feng wanted to gather everyone for a meeting, all of them agreed. When they were still in the Azure Dragon Institute, they had heard of Lin Feng. Although he was only a new first-year student, his strength was so strong that he could even contend with those freakish characters at the top of the Mountain River list. During this period of time, there was another rumor that Lin Feng had chased after several hundred fierce beasts, Beastmen Empire soldiers, and a blood-robed beast tamer. Lin Feng had already become a legendary figure in the Azure Dragon Institute, and many Azure Dragon Institute students yearned for him. In the afternoon, the captains and vice-captains of more than a dozen teams arrived. Everyone, I've called you here today because I want to discuss something with you. Lin Feng said, Brother Lin, please speak your mind. One of the students said. He was called Wang Kuan, a powerful cultivator ranked 31st on the Mountain River list, and was extremely powerful. Lin Feng took out an arrow and handed it to Long Shiyu. Long Shiyu easily broke it. No one understood Lin Feng's intention. Then Lin Feng took out another dozen arrows and handed them to Long Shiyu. This time, Long Shiyu failed to break the arrow. Everyone fell into deep thought. Us Azure Dragon Institute people, on one hand, represent the Azure Dragon Institute's face. On the other hand, who among us doesn't want a bright future? Who doesn't want to be recommended by the Azure Dragon Institute? Join an ancient force in the future? Even if we can't join an ancient force, who wants to live a mediocre life? Who doesn't want to make a name for themselves? Looking at the bigger picture, the country is in danger. If we don't resist the Beastmen Empire's army, think about it. How many casualties will there be? How many people will die? If the country falls, what's there to talk about? If the true martial country is truly destroyed, how many of our families, relatives, and friends will die? Lin Feng's words made many people's fists clench together. That's right. If the country falls, where would their families be? How many friends and family would die? This was a scene no one wanted to see. Lin Feng's words ignited the fire in many people's hearts, filling them with hot-bloodedness. One arrow is easy to break, but when more than a dozen arrows are placed together, it's hard to break. This is the power of unity. Us Azure Dragon Institute students are all elites, but no matter how elite we are, we're still ants in front of the Beastmen Empire's army. Only by uniting can we unleash our full strength. Lin Feng's voice was sonorous and forceful. Everyone, the reason I've gathered everyone here today is to unite the Azure Dragon Institute. We will kill the enemy together, shed blood together, and make a name for ourselves. Good, I agree. Wang Kuan stood up. Brother Lin's words made me feel ashamed. Today, I, Wang Kuan, am willing to follow Brother Lin and unite by his side. I also agree. One by one, the captains stood up, their voices sonorous and powerful. Wang Kuan said, I suggest that we worship Brother Lin as our leader, leading everyone in the Azure Dragon Institute. Brother Lin once led a team of new students, sweeping away all the Azure Dragon Institute's senior students, and also led a team of new students defeating the Beastmen and Fierce Beast Siege. In terms of experience, no one can compare to Brother Lin, and in terms of cultivation, who here can be Brother Lin's opponent? In terms of character, I'm sure everyone knows Brother Lin's character. Who wouldn't admire him? Brother Wang is right. We are willing to serve Brother Lin as our leader, willing to pledge our lives to follow him. Following that, another senior student shouted in agreement. This person was called Zhang Lei Tang, ranked 35th on the Mountain River list. The rest of the people also chimed in. Lin Feng said, "Everyone, I, Lin Feng, am deeply moved to be able to obtain everyone's trust. Today, I vow that I will not disappoint everyone's trust and will lead everyone to defeat the Beastmen Empire's army, protecting our country. Even if I die, I will have no regrets. Pledge our lives to follow." Everyone bowed to Lin Feng. As a sign of respect, the war situation in the Northwest became increasingly tense. In the following month, the Beastmen Empire's army and the Scarlet Flame Army had engaged in more than a dozen battles. Both sides suffered heavy casualties. While Lin Feng led the Azure Dragon Institute's army to attack from time to time, ambushing the Beastmen Empire's army, killing more than 18,000 Beastmen Empire soldiers. At the peak of the war, the Beastmen Empire sent more than 1 million soldiers. And on the true martial country's side, 2 of the 5 legions, the Scarlet Dragon Legion and the Dragon Lion Legion, also came to reinforce. The entire Falling Moon Plains was littered with corpses, countless dead and injured. Falling Moon City. Wu Yangtian rushed to the Castellan Manor in a hurry. When he saw Huang Shirlan, he cried out, "Shirlan, something big happened! Something big happened!" Huang Shirlan was startled, asking, "What happened?" The old marshal was ambushed by demonic path experts and Beastmen army at the Clear Wind Ridge, suffering heavy losses. Now that he's surrounded, a soldier managed to break out and delivered a letter in blood. Wu Yangtian took out a letter written in blood, ordering Grand General Zhang Kuei to come to the Clear Wind Ridge as soon as possible. The letter was stamped with the Grand Marshal's seal. Huang Shirlan felt as if she had been struck by lightning when she saw the letter. Their Huang family was full of loyalty. Her father's generation had 7 brothers who had died in battle, and now only her grandfather was left. Huang Shirlan couldn't imagine what it would mean for them if her grandfather had died in battle. "Shirlan, the Beastmen Empire's army has sealed off all the fortresses in the Falling Moon Plains. That soldier was heavily injured and couldn't deliver the letter, so he delivered it to Falling Moon City. Then he died. We must go and rescue the old marshal," Wu Yangtian said in a sorrowful and anxious tone. "Summon Vice City, Lord Dong Sun, to see me. He'll take care of Falling Moon City's affairs for now. You'll come with me and lead the garrison there to rescue the old marshal." Huang Shirlan said. "Yes, I'll go and find Dong Sun now," Wu Yangtian said as he quickly walked out of the room. After he left the room, the sorrowful expression on Wu Yangtian's face completely disappeared. It was replaced by a sinister smile that made people shudder. Chapter 230. There were 80,000 soldiers stationed in Fallen Moon City. They were the backbone of Fallen Moon City's defense. In order to rescue old Marshal Huang, Huang Shirlan mobilized 30,000 elite soldiers and quickly headed towards Cool Breeze Ridge with Wu Yangtian. Of course, although kinship was one of the reasons for sending troops to rescue old Marshal Huang, even if old Marshal Huang was not Huang Shirlan's grandfather, Huang Shirlan would still go to rescue him after receiving the news. Old Marshal Huang was the commander of the Northwest Army. Nothing could happen to him. If old Marshal Huang died in battle, the Northwest Army would definitely be defeated. The road to Cool Breeze Ridge was rugged, and there was a section of the mountain path that was extremely difficult to traverse. It was located between two mountain ranges, and there was a deep canyon. If they wanted to pass through, they would have to pass through the canyon. After passing through the canyon, they would arrive at Cool Breeze Ridge in another day. The army didn't stop to rest along the way. When they arrived at the canyon, the majestic army quickly traversed through the canyon. There were huge mountain ranges on both sides of the canyon. When they looked up, the huge mountain peaks blocked the sunlight, causing the canyon to look gloomy. Pass down my order. Tell everyone to be careful. Looking at the terrain of the canyon, Huang Shilan couldn't help but frown slightly. She then passed down the order. She had been in the army for 12 years and had a good understanding of military affairs. A canyon like this was the most suitable place for an ambush. Yes, the messenger passed down Huang Shilan's order. Wu Yangtian, who was standing at the side, had a sinister smile on his face. The army continued to advance. Suddenly, a rumbling sound could be heard. What's that sound? Many people were puzzled. Look, above. Someone pointed at the top of the canyon and shouted in fear. Huge rocks could be seen rolling down from the top of the canyon, smashing towards the densely packed soldiers below. There's an ambush. Hurry up and dodge. Huang Shilan's expression changed drastically as she shouted, "Hurry up and dodge." Many soldiers shouted as they dodged the falling boulders. However, there were too many rocks. Many soldiers couldn't dodge in time and were sent flying by the rocks. Some were crushed by the rocks and died on the spot. Miserable cries could be heard as the rocks fell. The soldiers of Zhen Wu country suffered heavy losses. Pass through the canyon quickly. Huang Shilan shouted loudly. Looking at those soldiers who had died tragically, her hand that was holding the sword was trembling violently. The army quickly rushed toward the exit. Rumble! Suddenly, the ground split open, and an incomparably huge claw emerged. That mountain-like claw smashed towards the soldiers. Bang, 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 bang. Hundreds of soldiers were sent flying and died on the spot. Then, a powerful earth demon crawled out of the crack in the ground. The Earth Fiend blocked the path. The Earth Fiend belonged to a branch of the Devil race. These Devil Dao powerhouses had always been in contact with the Devil race. It wasn't difficult to ask the Earth Fiend to take action. Roar, roar, roar. At the same time, the Orc Empire's soldiers rushed in and joined the battle. "City Lord, we've been ambushed. We're trapped in the canyon," a general said with a pale face. "Get out of here." Huang Shilan shouted loudly. The army retreated in a sorry state, but behind them there were shouts and roars that shook the sky. The Earth Fiends were holding huge stone hammers and rushing in. Behind them were the Orc Empire's soldiers. The 30,000 soldiers of Fallen Moon City were completely trapped in the canyon. Kill, open a bloody path, and break out. Huang Shilan waved her sword and ordered the army to attack from behind. She wanted to open a bloody path. He. A sinister laughter sounded. A sinister laughter suddenly resounded, and 3 balls of demonic light flew in from the outside. Next, 3 black-robed cultivators walked out from the balls of demonic light. One of them was middle-aged, and the other 2 looked to be in their 30s. They were obviously Devil Dao experts. They were probably from the Soul Devourer Palace. Devil Dao cultivators. Huang Shilan's expression changed slightly. "Haha, Wu Yangtian, you've done well. Not only have you lured Huang Shilan out, but you've also lured out the 30,000 soldiers guarding Fallen Moon City. Now, we'll destroy the 30,000 soldiers, capture Huang Shilan, and seize Fallen Moon City. Then, We'll use Huang Shirlan to force Huang Tianfeng to submit, said the middle-aged man. The middle-aged cultivator said. This person was the Devil Dao expert Li Doxy. Wu Yangtian, it's you? Huang Shirlan's expression changed drastically. She remembered the traitor Lin Feng had mentioned, but she hadn't thought that the traitor who had colluded with the Devil Dao would be Wu Yangtian. A wise man submits to circumstances, said Wu Yangtian indifferently. The Huang clan has treated you well. How dare you collude with the Devil Dao and the Orc Empire? You're a traitor? Huang Shirlan's face turned ashen. Treated me well? Huang Shirlan, you be *TCH. My father died for that old bastard Huang Tianfeng. As for me, I'm still young and I've made outstanding military exploits. Why would that old bastard Huang Tianfeng rather let you be the city lord of Fallen Moon City instead of me? If he really treated me as one of his own, why wouldn't he give me the position of city lord? I hate all of you. I hate Zhenwu country. If Zhenwu country hadn't resisted the invasion of the Orc Empire, how could my father have died? I want to destroy Zhenwu country and your Huang clan. I want to kill that old bastard Huang Tianfeng with my own hands. If it wasn't for him, how could my father have died? Wu Yangtian's face became distorted. Attack. Capture. Huang Shirlan. Li Doxy sneered and attacked Huang Shirlan together with the other two Devil Dao experts. Protect the city lord. Many soldiers from Fallen Moon City attacked the three Devil Dao experts. At the same time, 15 kilometers away, Lin Feng led his troops back from the battlefield. After many days of fighting, the Orc Empire's army had been forced to retreat under Marshal Huang's lead. Lin Feng planned to lead his troops back to Fallen Moon City to recuperate. Captain, listen. There are sounds of fighting coming from that direction. Long Shiyu pointed to the southeast. Sure enough, even though they were very far away, the sounds of fighting could be heard. It was obvious that a large-scale battle had broken out. Lin Feng looked to the southeast and asked, "What's that place?" "Captain, there's a huge canyon there called the Canyon of Death. It's extremely dangerous, and it's the best place to set up an ambush." Long Shiyu seemed to be very familiar with the terrain and said, "Gather up. We're leaving." Lin Feng ordered. The 1,000-man team moved swiftly, quickly assembling. These people were all experts, the Azure Dragon Institute's elites. Most of them were at the Martial Master realm and above, and there were even a few Martial General realm experts. After going through a series of life and death battles, each and every one of them had an imposing aura akin to a mountain or a sea. As all of them gathered together, their powerful blood chi condensed, forming a giant blood pillar above the team. This blood pillar soared high into the clouds, forming a giant blood-red wolf. That blood-red wolf stood high in the clouds, howling at the sky. This was the essence energy smoke. It was rumored that when a group of powerful cultivators gathered together, their blood chi would fuse and form essence energy smoke. The essence energy smoke was like a pillar of smoke shooting up to the 9 heavens. "Let's go," Lin Feng ordered, and the team charged toward the Canyon of Death in an orderly manner. Chapter 231. Kill. Deafening battle cries could be heard coming from the Death Canyon. Lin Feng led the Azure Dragon Legion over. It's the Orc Empire's soldiers. Could it be that Zhenwu country's army is trapped inside? Lin Feng frowned slightly. "Wu Ming, go and see what's going on." Lin Feng ordered. Yes. Wu Ming immediately flew out. The reason why Wu Ming was sent to scout for information was because Wu Ming was very clever, and also because Wu Ming had the ancestral Earth escape technique. Even if he encountered danger, he could use the technique to escape. Not long after, Wu Ming ran back in a panic. "Captain, it's bad. Something big has happened. Wu Ming was panting. What's going on? Lin Feng asked. It's City Lord Huang Sherlan. She's leading an army, but she's surrounded by orc soldiers. I saw some demon cultivators attacking her crazily. There are also a dozen earth demons cooperating with the orc soldiers to attack our soldiers. Wu Ming's expression was unsightly. Huh, sister? Huang Ling cried out. Huang Lei also said doubtfully, shouldn't Big Sister be overseeing Fallen Moon City now? Why would she lead an army without orders? Lin Feng's expression sank. It must be Wu Yangtian. He must have used some unknown method to deceive Huang Sherlan. And now, on the battlefield, the Orc Empire was being obstructed and defeated by Zhen Wu country's army. If Huang Sherlan was captured, the Orc Empire would use her life to threaten Marshal Huang. It would be very troublesome. Moreover, Lin Feng felt that if the Orc Empire captured Huang Sherlan, they would use her to open Fallen Moon City. That would be even more troublesome. Once Fallen Moon City was breached, Zhen Wu country's northwestern frontier would be lost. At that time, the Orc army would be able to invade Zhen Wu country. What are you waiting for? Follow me and kill. Lin Feng shouted. Kill. The Azure Dragon Legion charged towards Death Canyon. Although there were only 1,000 of them, their aura was magnificent. It's the human reinforcements. Kill. Destroy these human reinforcements. When the beast men saw the Azure Dragon Legion charging over, they immediately roared and swarmed over. Chop. Over 1,000 experts of the Azure Dragon Legion attacked together, brandishing their weapons. Everyone's attacks converged and swept forward. Bang, bang, bang. The densely packed orc soldiers exploded into a bloody mist, unable to stop the Azure Dragon Legion's charge. Devour. A black vortex appeared in Lin Feng's left palm. He was using his devouring martial soul to devour the blood chi of the orcs. Oh, the great sacrificial technique. I'm willing to use my blood as a sacrifice in exchange for the great technique. Lin Feng once again used the move Sacred Armor Blessing. Blood sacrifice in exchange for the blessing of the divine armor. This kind of consumption was very serious. The average person would not be able to bear such a serious consumption, let alone supporting 1,000 people. But Lin Feng could do it, because Lin Feng's devouring martial soul was really too terrifying. As long as there was enough blood for him to devour, he could use his own blood as a sacrifice and then devour other people's blood to recover his consumption. Now that a large number of orc soldiers had been killed, they could be turned into Lin Feng's supplies. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Sacred armor blessings appeared on the bodies of the students. Everyone's expression was greatly shaken. Some of the students who had followed Lin Feng in the beginning knew that Lin Feng knew a sacred armor blessing technique, but Lin Feng had never used it before. This was the first time Lin Feng had used it. What a high-level spiritual array technique. I wonder what level spiritual array master the captain is. Many of the students were incomparably shocked. In terms of strength, Lin Feng was unparalleled. He could kill general realm experts. In terms of age, Lin Feng was the youngest of them all. What was even more shocking was that Lin Feng was actually an extremely powerful spiritual array master. It had to be known that it was extremely difficult to become a spiritual array master. Even if one was lucky enough to become a spiritual array master, could one become a powerful spiritual array master without decades of hard work? Obviously, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, Lin Feng was only 16 or 17 years old. In everyone's hearts, Lin Feng's image was like an immemorial divine mountain. Many people were filled with admiration and admiration. This was also one of the main reasons why Lin Feng had such a great appeal. With the blessing of the sacred armor, everyone's confidence greatly increased. Under the leadership of Lin Feng, the team directly charged towards the Death Canyon. Kill these humans! The Orc Empire's general roared. The densely packed Orc soldiers charged towards them. However, Lin Feng's team was really too powerful. Under the leadership of Lin Feng, everyone's essence, energy, and spirit fused together. Everyone's attack speed was almost the same. This was a kind of charm. When one was in the team, they would completely fuse with the team as if they had become one person, a team of more than 1,000 people, and all of them were experts. There were also a few general realm experts, but all of their strength had fused together. It was almost as if one person was attacking. This was too terrifying. The attacks of 1,000 people condensed into a torrent of attacks that swept out. Pu-pu-pu, tearing sounds were constantly heard. The Orc Empire's soldiers were directly beheaded. Each wave of attack could kill at least 300 to 400 Orc Empire's soldiers. At most, it could even kill 1,000 Orc Empire soldiers. This kind of lethality was too terrifying. Essence Chi smoke. It's actually Essence Chi smoke. Our army of 100,000 didn't condense Essence Chi smoke, but a team of 1,000 people actually condensed Essence Chi smoke. Orc Empire's general looked at the Essence Chi smoke above the Azure Dragon army in disbelief. The Blood Wolf standing in the clouds occasionally let out deep roars. Arrows, release the arrows. The Orc Empire's general roared. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Numerous arrows were shot towards Lin Feng and the others. Kill! Lin Feng roared. Everyone attacked together, sweeping the sky and the earth. Bang, bang, bang. Countless arrows were swept away. Even if some arrows were shot, they were blocked by the sacred armor. They couldn't harm Lin Feng and the others at all. Amazing! Captain's divine battle armor is too overpowered. All the students were shocked and overjoyed. They could attack without any scruples, and they didn't have to worry about being shot by arrows. Kill! Lin Feng roared. He led the Azure Dragon army deep into the Orc Empire's army, carving out a bloody path. General, retreat! Hundreds of Orc Empire's soldiers protected the Orc Empire's generals. Do you see? Those are the Orc Empire's generals. Kill them and the Orc Empire's army will fall into chaos. Lin Feng pointed his black dragon sword at the Orc Empire's generals. Boom! The legion of 1,000 people attacked again, sweeping away everything in their way as they rushed towards the Orc Empire's generals. Protect the generals! Countless Orc Empire's soldiers rushed over. Whoosh, whoosh. But under Lin Feng's command, they killed everything in their way. Countless Orc Empire soldiers were killed. Kill the Orc Empire's generals! Shouted Lin Feng. The legion of 1,000 people attacked together, all of their attacks converging towards the Orc Empire's generals. No! The Orc Empire's generals screamed in terror. Whoosh! In the next moment, their bodies exploded, turning into a bloody mist. The Orc Empire's generals, who had led the Orc Empire's army of 100,000, had all been killed by Lin Feng's legion of 1,000. Chapter 232. The Grand General is dead. Countless Orc soldiers roared wildly and charged at the 1,000-man legion. Obviously, Lin Feng had led a 1,000-man legion to kill a few generals of the Orc Empire. This had driven these Orc soldiers into a frenzy. Slash! 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 Lin Feng roared and led the 1,000-man legion to fight the Orc army. The 1,000-man legion moved and attacked in unison. The lethality of their attacks was terrifying. On the other hand, although there were a lot of Beastman soldiers, they didn't have any organization to speak of. Even when the Beastman generals were still alive, they didn't understand human formations. All of the Beastmen just swarmed forward. This was a common tactic used by the Beastmen. But obviously, that kind of fighting wasn't very effective against Lin Feng and the others. Under Lin Feng's lead, the army of 1,000 people could easily crush the Beastmen. They were moving unhindered among the Beastmen army. After the initial frenzied charge, the Orc army realized that not only did they fail to kill Lin Feng and the others, but they also suffered heavy losses. In addition, a few generals were killed. Their morale was low, and they were no match for Lin Feng's 1,000-man legion. Lin Feng led the 1,000-man legion and tore a gap in the huge Orc army. Finally, they entered Death Canyon. Roar! The roar shook the sky, and an earth demon rushed toward Lin Feng and the others. The earth demon held a huge stone hammer in its hand. With every step it took, the ground trembled violently. Previously, when Lin Feng and the blood-robed beast tamer were fighting to the death, he had fought an earth demon. He knew how powerful this kind of earth demon was. The earth demon roared and raised its stone hammer, smashing it toward the 1,000-man legion. Its mountain-like body was a huge visual impact to the students. Many of them turned pale with fright. What are you afraid of? This earth demon is not unkillable. If we work together, we can definitely slay it. Lin Feng roared and raised the black dragon sword. Slash! Buzz! Lin Feng was the first to attack. A 10-meter-long sword aura was activated and blasted toward the earth demon. Slash! Everyone roared loudly. The 1,000-man legion attacked. Everyone's attacks converged and swept across the land, shattering mountains and rivers. The earth demon smashed with its stone hammer, and its attack collided with the 1,000-man legion's torrent of attacks. The stone hammer in the earth demon's hand was instantly shattered, and the earth demon was forced to retreat. Who knew how many orc soldiers it trampled to death? Kill! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. It was the second time he attacked the demon with his sword. Everyone's morale was greatly boosted, and they attacked with all their might. The second attack was much more powerful than the first attack. Boom! The terrifying torrent of attacks converged and mercilessly slammed into the Earth Fiend, tearing it apart. Blood flowed. The Earth Fiend's massive body fell to the ground with a loud rumble, directly dying. This fall was like the collapse of a mountain. Who knew how many orc soldiers were crushed to death? In the central region of Death Valley, Li Doxi and the other 3 Devil Dao experts were madly attacking Huang Shilan. There were many generals around Huang Shilan who were risking their lives to resist. However, the 3 devils were too powerful. Li Doxi was a martial king expert. Although he suffered a backlash when his 12 external incarnations were swallowed by Lin Feng's mysterious demonic orb, his combat strength was still extremely terrifying. As for the other 2 demons, one was at the 7th heavenly layer, while the other was at the 8th heavenly layer. They were all high-level martial generals. The 3 of them were invincible when they joined forces. The soldiers guarding Huang Lin Huang were killed by the 3 of them. The ground was littered with the corpses of the soldiers. City Lord, run! A centurion shouted. Then he turned around and led a group of soldiers to attack Li Doxi's group with a spear in hand. Despicable things, die, Li Lin Feng and the others said in a sinister voice. Boom, boom. The tentacles of the 3 Devil Dao experts shot out clouds of devil fog, wrapping around the soldiers. Ah, these iron-blooded men of Fallen Moon City threw away their weapons and covered their faces. Their faces began to rot, and then their bodies began to rot as well. The demonic mist contained deadly poison. These people had all died tragically at the hands of the 3 great demonic pathmasters. Seeing this scene, Huang Shilan's face was filled with pain. However, she knew that she had to escape. If she really couldn't escape, she would rather commit suicide than fall into the hands of these people. The three experts were invincible. The soldiers of Fallen Moon City, who were protecting Huang Shilan, couldn't stop them at all. Many soldiers died, tragically. The three experts had already caught up. "You can't escape," Li Doxi said gloomily. Whoosh! A cold light suddenly flew out. It was a flying sword that was as fast as lightning, slashing towards Li Doxi. It was Huang Shilan's flying sword. Buzz! Right at this moment, another flying sword flew over from a distance. With a clang, it hit Huang Shilan's flying sword and stopped her attack. "Huang Shilan, as long as I'm here, you won't be able to escape," Wu Yangtian said with a proud look on his face. "Wu Yangtian, you traitor!" Huang Shilan's pretty face was incomparably ugly. Her eyes were filled with despair. If it was only the Beastmen army, they might be able to escape. But now there were three great demonic pathmasters. It was simply impossible to fight against them. "Ha! Thank you very much." Li Doxi laughed and slapped 3 times in a row. Bang, bang, bang. The soldiers of Fallen Moon City were sent flying one by one. Li Doxi was approaching Huang Shilan, and the other 2 demonic pathmasters were also quickly approaching. There were less than 50 soldiers around Huang Shilan. With the strength of the 3 great demonic pathmasters, they could quickly kill all the soldiers and capture Huang Shilan. Huang Shilan bit her pale lips, and a dagger appeared in her hand. Obviously, she was an unyielding person. She would rather commit suicide than fall into the hands of these bastards. Boom! But at this moment, blood chi soared into the sky. 1,000-strong army swept through the Beastmen army. They were simply invincible, sweeping away all the obstacles in their way. "Hurry up and stop them." Seeing the 1,000-strong army led by Lin Feng, Wu Yangtian's face changed, and he shouted loudly. Roar, roar, roar. Countless beastmen rushed over, but they were doomed to die. Lin Feng led the 1,000-strong army and tore apart the beastmen army. "Slash!" shouted Lin Feng. He and the 1,000-strong army attacked together. A 12-meter-long sword chi slashed towards Li Doxi and the other 2 great demonic pathmasters. Damn it! The 3 Devil Dao experts felt the terrifying power of the 1,000-man legion's attack. Their complexions changed. Li Doxi was the first to dodge the attack. However, the other 2 Devil Dao experts weren't so lucky. The 1,000-man legion's attack bombarded them. They were instantly torn into pieces and died on the spot. Chapter 233. Among the 3 strong cultivators, Li Doxi was the strongest. He was a martial king, and the other 2 were high-level generals. However, even high-level generals couldn't resist the attack of 1,000 people. The combined power of this 1,000-man legion was too terrifying. Even a 10,000-meter-tall mountain could be shattered in an instant, let alone a human's body. "It's you?" Li Doxi looked at Lin Feng gloomily. That day, when he had been talking to Wu Yangtian, someone had seen him. Even though he hadn't seen that person's face, Li Doxi remembered his appearance and chi very clearly. Therefore, when he saw Lin Feng, he immediately recognized Lin Feng. Li Doxi gnashed his teeth and looked at Lin Feng. His 12 clones had disappeared because he had been chasing Lin Feng. He had spent 60 years of his life to create them, and they had disappeared without a trace. Because of that, Li Doxi had suffered a backlash. Because of that, he only had 30% of his original strength. In addition to the injuries on his body, it would be considered good if he could display half of his strength. Li Doxi was furious. Even in his dreams, he wanted to kill the person who had destroyed his 12 clones. Now that he had finally seen Lin Feng, he was furious. Lin Feng ignored Li Doxi. He looked at Huang Shilan and asked, "Are you all right?" I'm fine. Huang Shilan shook her head. Little brat, you deserve to die, shouted Li Doxi furiously. He stomped his foot and rushed towards Lin Feng. He wanted to use his full strength to kill Lin Feng. Li Doxi, you've suffered a backlash. You're not as strong as you used to be. Today I'll kill you, shouted Lin Feng coldly. He waved his sword and slashed at Li Doxi. Behind him, the 1,000 people moved at the same time as Lin Feng. Everyone's essence, qi, and soul power fused together. With one slash, all the attacks converged together and turned into a long river that flooded the area in front of them. It was a flood of attacks. The combined attack of over 1,000 people was simply too powerful. Even though Li Doxi's cultivation was extremely high, he still felt the dangerous aura at this moment. After all, the current Li Doxi was not at his peak. His combat strength decreased sharply. As for Lin Feng, after fighting with the 1,000-man army, his essence, energy, and soul had been raised to the peak. Each of his attacks was extremely terrifying. Facing the torrent of attacks from Lin Feng and the 1,000-man army, Li Doxi's expression changed drastically. He quickly dodged, but he couldn't. Li Doxi held a blood-red saber in his hand. He shouted and slashed out. Blood Devil King, Blood Devil King. An endless amount of blood mist was emitted from the blood-colored saber. Amidst the blood mist, a blood-red figure condensed. The crimson figure let out a deep roar. Spirit weapon. Lin Feng was shocked. Blacksmiths were the third profession in addition to spirit array masters and alchemists. Some powerful blacksmiths could forge some very powerful weapons, such as the common flying swords. These weapons were different from ordinary weapons and could display all kinds of terrifying abilities. Such weapons were called magic weapons. Magic weapons were also divided into ranks. From low to high rank, they were magic weapon, spiritual weapon, precious weapon, and Taoist weapon. Magic weapons could already attack from a distance. However, magic weapons could not produce weapon spirits. Only at the level of a spirit weapon would an artifact spirit be formed. Why were they called spiritual weapons? It was because weapons had spirit. Spirit meant soul. That was why they were called spiritual weapons. The soul of a weapon was called weapon spirit. Once a magic weapon transformed into a spiritual weapon, its power would increase greatly. Lin Feng had seen many magic weapons before, but this was the first time he saw a spiritual weapon. The Blood Devil King was the weapon spirit of the blood-red saber in Li Doxi's hand. Li Doxi slashed with this powerful spiritual weapon, level blood-red long saber. Endless blood-red light seemed to cover the sky and the sun. Bang! The attacks of the two sides fiercely collided. Lin Feng and the 1,000-man army's attack was broken by Li Doxi with a spiritual weapon. This had a lot to do with Li Doxi's strength. Of course, another very important reason was that the spiritual weapon in Li Doxi's hand was too powerful. Ha ha ha! Watch how I cut off your head. Li Doxi laughed wildly after breaking the attack of Lin Feng and the 1,000-man army. He rushed toward Lin Feng with the blood-red saber in his hand. Oh no, Lin Feng is in danger. Huang Shilan's pretty face changed greatly. Behind Lin Feng, many students were also shocked. Their 1,000-man army was invincible, but now they were blocked by Li Doxi. When a person's cultivation was heaven-defying enough, perhaps he could defeat thousands of soldiers. Li Doxi was obviously such a person. He was too powerful. Even though Li Daoxie's strength had decreased because of the backlash, compared to Lin Feng and the others compared to the ordinary soldiers, he was still like a gigantic mountain. Everybody felt suffocated under the pressure. Little boy, die. Li Daoxie smiled ferociously. In his eyes, Lin Feng was already a dead man. He didn't believe that Lin Feng could compete with him. Even if he had an army of 1,000 people behind him, he couldn't compete with him. Die, die, this kid is finally going to die. Not far away, Wu Yangtian looked at Lin Feng with a sneer. It was because Lin Feng saw his meeting with Li Doxi that Wu Yangtian couldn't eat or sleep in peace. Wu Yangtian wanted to cut Lin Feng into pieces. Buzz. Li Doxi raised his blood-red saber and slashed toward Lin Feng. King of the Blood Devils! King of the Blood Devils! The blood-colored artifact spirit, condensed from the blood-colored long saber, let out a deep roar. Just as the attack was about to land, at this critical moment, something happened. At that moment, Lin Feng attacked. Lin Feng shook his right hand, and a cyan light shot out. The cyan light and Li Doxi's blood-red saber collided. Clang! There was a loud sound. Everyone was shocked to see that Li Doxi's spiritual weapon, the blood-red saber, was broken. The cyan light quickly flew back to Lin Feng and was taken by Lin Feng. It was the bronze fragment, the legendary horn of a holy emperor weapon. It was much more powerful than a spiritual weapon. Ah, my treasure, my blood devil's saber! Li Doxi shouted furiously. He felt like his heart was bleeding. He had paid a great price to get his blood devil's saber, and now it was destroyed. Die! Shouted Lin Feng. When they heard Lin Feng, the army came back to their senses and attacked Li Doxi together with Lin Feng. Li Doxi had lost his blood devil's saber, so he couldn't fight back. He quickly retreated, but he couldn't dodge the attack. Slash, slash. Blood splashed as Li Doxi's left arm was cut off. Kill the evil Li Doxi! Shouted Lin Feng. He continued attacking Li Doxi. The army behind him and the soldiers of Fallen Moon City all attacked Li Doxi. Li Doxi had killed so many soldiers of Fallen Moon City, so the soldiers of Fallen Moon City wanted to cut him into 1,000 pieces. Little boy, wait and see. I'll kill you. I'll cut you into 1,000 pieces. Li Doxi looked at Lin Feng with hatred. A moment later, with a loud bang, Li Doxi's body exploded and turned into a bloody mist. He soared into the sky and disappeared without a trace. This was an extremely powerful escaping technique called the Blood Evil escaping technique. Each time he used it, he would consume 300 years of his lifespan. The price was extremely heavy. However, in order to escape, Li Doxi had used the Blood Evil escaping technique to escape without a trace.